Tapos, ilagay natin.
Have Miss Catalina Eusebio de Polonia. Then from the Social Security System, we have Miss Melanie Morales. Uh, Also from the Social Security, we have Attorney Joseph De Sunia. Then from the uh, President Alliance of Workers in the Informal Economy Sector, we have Miss Susanita Babes Orna. Then from the Sentro ng mga nagkakaisa at progresibong manggagawa, we have Miss Juana Bernice Coronacion. Then from the HomeNet Philippines, we have the Advisor and Research Committee, Dr. Rosalinda Pineda Ofreneo. Then from the Democratic Socialist Women of the Philippines, we have Miss Elizabeth Angshoko. From the Metro Manila Vendors Alliance, we have Miss Flora A. Santos. Then from the Partido ng Manggagawa, we have Miss Ethel Fortaleza. From the Associate Director for East Asia Pacific, we have Dr. Paul Zambrano. Then from the Department of Education, we have Miss Cecil Anyayahan. Then from the Department of Justice, we have ASEC Maken Anika Grandong and Attorney Lourdes Gisela Mendoza. We have also from the Department of Education, we have Miss Jonna Christine Valdez. Then from the Commission on Higher Education, we have Dr. Maria Helen Dayo. From the Department of Labor and Employment, we have Ms. Dayan Alavado. Then from the National Privacy Commission, we have Attorney Vida Sora Bukar. From the National Youth Commission, we have Commissioner Rena Vivienne Pineda representing Luzon. Then for the Council for the Welfare of Children, we have Yusek Angelo M. Tapales present with us here. Then we have from the Philippine Information Agency, we have Miss Marie Ansel Abrenica. From the Technical Education Skill Development Authority, we have Miss Beverly Bayonisto. Then from the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Council, we have Miss Esmeralda Distor. From the PLCPD, we have Miss Angelica Ramirez. Then from the Psychological Station of the Philippines, we have Dr. Farida Christie Wathirit, Dr. Lilina Bahien. From the Ateneo de Manila University, we have Dr. Edith Lian Alampay. Then from the Positive Parenting Advocate, we have Mr. Edgar Marshall Bringas. Then from the eNet Philippines, we have eNet Philippines, we have Miss Arbeline Joy Berdan. That's all for now, Madam Chair. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Comsec. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Senator Ronald De La Rosa, Maayong buntag, Sen, basta, salamat kaayo for attending our hearing. So just a brief opening statement and then I will ask Sen De La Rosa kung meron din silang opening statement.
Okay lang. Puro bila ko sa kabila.
Okay.
Tapos Jinggoy.
Okay, and with the presence of Sen Doroy De La Rosa, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. Salamat kaayo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to ask permission to transfer to the other hearing. I have to make a quorum there also. Thank you.
And on behalf of our
Mr.
colleague
Chair.
Sen Jinggoy, dagang salamat
Yes po.
for
Thank you,
making quorum.
Madam Chair.
Salamat kaayo. So friends, kahapon po ay ating ginunita ang Mother's Day. Sa aking mga kapwa nanay, physically and online present, Happy Mother's Day po sa atin. At Happy Mother's Day sa mga nanay nating lahat, pati po ng ating mga lalaking resource person na nandirito. Higit sa lahat, Happy Mother's Day sa mga nanay na mga informal worker. 5 taon na po ang nakalilipas mula nung ating ipasa yung expanded maternity leave law. From 60 days, nagawa natin na 105 days na maternity leave at full pay ang matatanggap ng ating mga nanay sa formal labor force. Yet, while we continue to see this as a landmark and historical win for Filipino women, it has not escaped us that a large swath of female workers remain unable to access the benefits of this law. Ang tinutukoy ko po ay ang ating informal workers. Sino-sino po ba sila? Sila po ay ang mga babaeng nangangalakal sa palengke, mga nagbebenta ng kakanin sa kalsada, mga live-out na cleaning lady, mga home-based workers, mga magsasaka. Malimit po dahil sa sobrang liit ng kita at di pa nga sapat para sa pang-araw-araw na gastusin, wala nang natitira kahit para maging voluntary contributor sa SSS. Ang panukalang batas na ito ay naglalayo na bigyan sila ng maternity cash benefit na katumbas ng daily minimum wage times 44 o ang minimum wage sa 2 buwan. Kukunin ang pera mula sa sin taxes na noong 2021 ay 260 billion pesos na. Friends, this is not simply a social justice measure. This is a health measure with meaningful impacts, not just for the mothers who can recuperate longer, but also for the infants who will benefit from longer breastfeeding. At yung author ng study tungkol sa inadequate breastfeeding costs na si Dr. Paul Zambrano ay nandirito rin kasama natin ngayong araw. Peer-reviewed research has quantified the economic toll that inadequate breastfeeding takes on individuals, communities, and countries, and has found that the current cost to the Philippine healthcare system due to inadequate breastfeeding is around 16.3 million US dollars per year, and future cognitive losses of 2.3 billion US dollars per year owing to reduced development and earning potential can also be expected. At salamat muli kina Dr. Zambrano at lahat pa na nag-ambag na ganitong mahalagang kaalaman sa atin. Kaya po, napakahalaga na mapasa ang panukalang batas na ito. Tinataya po na mahigit kumulang na 250,000 Filipino women in the informal economy ang nanganganak taon-taon. Malaki po at makabuluhan ang impact para sa kanila. So now we will ask our government agencies to comment first on the bill. I'm particularly interested in hearing from the executive officials from the finance agencies if the proposed expenditure is possible o kung hindi man, kung ano ang posible. So may I request our dear resource persons from the government agencies and later also from the civil society organizations and academe to please keep your interventions to 3 minutes each. So could we please hear first from the Department of Finance, from Ms. Annabel Gumimpan.
Good morning, Senator. Can you
Good
hear
morning,
me
ma'am.
po?
Yes, can hear you very well po.
Thank you po. As yung pong RA 11346,
Ma'am, sorry, before you continue, pwede pong buksan yung video nyo para makita rin namin kayo.
sorry po ma'am,
It's okay.
may ano po, it's not working. My camera is
Okay, so video lang po tayo ngayong umaga. Okay,
sorry
please
po,
proceed, ma'am.
Senator, for RA 11346, yun pong 50% po ng revenues doon from tobacco and sweet beverages ay naka-allocate na po for PhilHealth, medical assistance, and health facilities enhancement program po. And yun pong RA 11467, yun pong 100% po ng revenues doon ay naka-allocate na po for UHC and SDGs po. Yun po yung nasa batas.
So ang implication po ay just to make it of record mula sa DOF, ang implication po ng proposed expenditure ng itong panukalang batas na ito, anong implikasyon nung status ng syntax allocation natin para dito?
So ngayon po ma'am, yun pong para po sa sin taxes, yung pong revenues po niya ay naka-earmark na po para sa ano po, sa universal healthcare at sa SDG goals po natin.
So are you saying po ma'am na wala pong makukuha at least mula sa syntaxes para dito sa panukalang ito?
Yun po ma'am, from my level po, yun pa lang po yung maiko-comment ko ngayon. Pero
Okay.
po, this is still subject po ma'am sa ano namin. I will make initial comments po, then this is still subject po for our secretaries.
It's still
For
subject to
our,
what,
yes.
ma'am?
Ma'am, it's still subject pa po for ano, for discussion po sa aming
All right.
sa aming mga higher ups. Ma'am, yun pa lang po yung initial comment po ng
All
DOF.
right.
as
Salamat,
of this
ma'am. And
moment.
the committee looks forward to those further discussions. Also, please note, ma'am, na yung measure na ito, yung one-time maternity benefit para sa women in the informal economy, pwede
Yes,
rin po
ma'am.
siyang tignan bilang SDG goal na measure. So, paki-note na lang po on the part of the department para sa ating continuing discussion.
Sige po ma'am, thank you po.
All right, salamat po, Ms. Annabel. All right, so ngayon po pakinggan natin mula sa DBM, will it be Attorney Borja o si Ms. Mary Grace?
Good afternoon. Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning, Attorney Borja. All right, sir, you have the floor.
Ma'am, for the Department of Budget and Management, we are still finalizing our position paper. However, once signed, we will submit the same as soon as possible to the committee. As regards our general comments on the proposal, that will be Senate Bill number 148. Well, on the grant of the subject maternity benefits, we defer to the inputs of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, whether it has an existing program that may be attributed in the implementation of the proposal. On the funding source and the fiscal impact of the bill, we defer to the inputs of the Department of Finance since the same are within its function.
All right. Thank you, Attorney. So, lalahok ba ang DBM dun sa continuing discussion na binanggit kanina ng DOF resource person?
Yes, ma'am, as long as we are invited, and we will certainly collaborate and work with the committee and with the DOF.
All right. So paki-note din po, Attorney Borja, yung sinabi ko kanina na paki-consider, pati na rin ng department nyo, yung halaga nitong batas in terms of achieving our country's SDG goal, or in terms of our country achieving the SDG goal.
Duly noted, Senator. Thank you.
Salamat, Attorney Borja. And Ms. Annabel, tiyakin na lang na maimbita nga po ng DOF ang DBM sa continuing discussion natin. Salamat po. All right, so let's hear now from the DSWD, ASEC Irene Dumlao. You have the floor, ma'am.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Madam Chair, good morning, and to all the members of the committee. On behalf of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, we would like to express our profound gratitude to the committee for again inviting the department as a resource person to discuss the department's position on the maternity benefits for women in the informal economy. Well, the department acknowledges women's invaluable contributions to our society and the right to receive equitable treatment regardless of their employment status. We believe that income security for mothers after childbirth complements universal access to maternal health care, one of the women's rights stipulated in the Magna Carta for Women. This bill is a crucial step in securing mothers and reducing risk to maternal and child health and preventing families from falling into poverty or facing severe economic hardships. The department is consistent with the purpose of the bill. In fact, one of the current programs of the department is the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, which conducts family development sessions with sub-modules on family planning, safe motherhood, prenatal care, infant and child care, and early childhood care and development. These modules aim to empower marginalized families by promoting health and disease prevention, supporting child development, breaking the cycles of poverty, and pursuing a comprehensive approach to social development. We support the bill because it provides income security to mothers and reduces risk to maternal and child health, as mothers don't have to prematurely return to work due to financial challenges that compromises their health and that of their newborns. Ergo, mothers would have more time to take care of their newborn, thus strengthening the practice of breastfeeding, where the basic physical, emotional, and psychological needs of mothers and infants are promoted and protected. The department will submit its comments and recommendations on the proposed bill in the official paper that will be submitted to the committee as soon as it is signed by our secretary. With that, we thank you, Madam Chair, for this opportunity. Good morning.
Good morning again, ASEC Irene, at maraming salamat po sa inyong pananalita at sa suporta ng department sa aming panukalang batas. Also, thank you for citing the Magna Carta of Women as one of the laws, one of the mother laws, in fact, that also provides support and inspiration for this bill. Abangan po namin yung isasubmit ng department na position paper. Salamat po. Welcome to USEC Janela Maria Ejercito. Thank you for joining us in person as well. Isama ko na COMSEC yung pag-acknowledge sa taga NAC, Attorney Madeline Arezujam. Good morning. It's alam po ito ni COMSEC at ng iba pa naming kasama ng office ko dito sa komite. It's always great to be joined again by resource persons na naging partners din sa pagpasa ng mga mahalagang batas na ipinasa po ng komiteng ito. So thank you for joining us this morning. We will hear now from the PCW, Attorney Christine Yuzon Chavez.
Good morning, Madam Senator.
Good morning.
Trying to turn on my video there. Okay. Thank you for inviting us this morning. On behalf of the PCW, I'd like to convey that we strongly support Senate Bill 148. Senate Bill is in line with the Magna Carta of Women, which identifies women workers in the informal economy among the marginalized sectors who shall be given particular attention to guarantee that their human rights shall be respected, protected, fulfilled, and promoted. Women who bear most of the burden of productive responsibilities or unpaid care work tend to end up in the informal economy or take informal work arrangements. And this is because the informal economy offers them greater flexibility, autonomy, and geographic proximity to do paid work while fulfilling domestic duties. Women in the informal economy, however, are mostly confined to low-income activities and are inadequately covered by social protection, especially in times of illness, disability, work injury, maternity, unemployment, and old age. As the oversight body on gender equality and women's concerns, we submit some comments and recommendations. First is on Section 3 on maternity benefit for women workers in the informal economy. In line with the principle of progressive realization of human rights and the recognition of limited fiscal space, we recommend that a qualifying clause be included to prioritize female workers from poor and low-income households who do not have the capacity to contribute to and become voluntary members of the SSS. Some female workers, such as those who are self-employed and belong to higher income classes, may still fall under the definition of a worker in the informal economy, although their membership to the SSS may not be due to financial constraints but is a personal preference. On the amount of maternity benefit and funding source, we recommend that a study be conducted on the cost of the proposed maternity benefit and how it compares to the maternity benefit provided under the SSS. We also recommend exploring other possible fund sources in addition to the revenues from excise tax on sweetened beverages, alcohol, tobacco products, tobacco products to ensure that all intended female workers will be able to access and avail of the proposed maternity benefit. That is all from us, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much also, Attorney Christine. The chair notes the recommendation regarding Section 3. Well noted po, and the recommendation to conduct studies both on the cost of maternity benefits at saka yung alternative revenue sources. At dahil nabanggit na rin ito ng resource person natin mula sa DOF and a little more indirectly mula sa DBM, the chair would appreciate kung merong ding mapag-alaman o matukoy ang commission itself, ang PCW, na ganitong mga alternative revenue sources. So maraming salamat muli, Attorney Christine.
Thank you.
And thank you, ma'am. Now we'll hear from the PCUP kay Ms. Catalina Eusebio de Polonia.
Considering the Presidential Commission for the Urban Poor, PCUP, as part of the Senate Committee on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Inequality,
Ma'am,
particularly
excuse me, ma'am, hindi po namin kayo makita. I mean, we can see your profile pic po ba iyon?
for a while, ma'am. I'm so sorry.
It's okay po.
The key, so I will be. I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm work from home.
No problem po. Sige po. Siguro pareho tayong hindi masyadong high-tech. Ganyan din po ako minsan. It's all right po if you need to work just with that profile pic and then magpatuloy na lang nung pananalita nyo using your audio.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. For
Okay
the
po.
SB 148, but you can hear me well, Madam Senator.
Very well po. Please proceed.
Thank you. For SBN 148, the maternity benefit for women in the informal economy, actually, the Presidential Commission for the Urban Poor po ay buong pusong sumusuporta sa Senate bill na ito, ma'am. And this is really for the benefit of particularly of our underprivileged, the urban poor sector. We will be submitting a paper on this, ma'am, right after our legal unit has is done with the drafting of the comments.
Salamat po, Ms. Catalina. Aabangan po namin yon. Pero ngayon pa lamang, maraming salamat dun sa buong pusong pagsuporta ng komisyon.
Maraming salamat, Madam Senator.
Yes, ma'am. Now we'll hear, while we're waiting for the resource persons from DILG and DOH to arrive, we'll hear from the resource person from SSS. So will it be Ms. Melanie or si Attorney Desuna?
Andiyan na po yung
Magandang umaga po, Madam Chairperson. This is Joseph from the Social Security System. Magandang umaga po sa lahat.
Yes, sir. Magandang umaga po. Please proceed.
Nagpapasalamat po kami unang-una sa opportunity for enabling us to take part in the deliberation of this measure. On its face po, the legislative intention of Senate Bill 148 is laudable, and evidently this is in furtherance of the mandate of the state to its citizens. As regards the funding requirement for this type of measure, we heard earlier from our colleagues from the DOF and the Department of Budget and Management. And we would like to defer to their position in this regard. As an initial observation, however, we have found out that probably there is a need to provide for a clear-cut definition of informal sector workers in relation to those who would be considered as non-SSS members of the SSS, since there may be cases where an informal sector worker mandatorily covered under SSS or a voluntary SSS member would still not be eligible to avail of SSS maternity benefit. This is due to non-compliance to one of its qualifying conditions, particularly on number and recency of SS contributions. Right now, we are drafting our official position paper subject to our internal review and approval process, and we wish to reserve its formal filing once it is finalized. That would be all for now, Madam Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to Attorney Desunya. Aabangan po namin yung position paper ng system ng SSS. Noted po yung pag-defer nyo sa DOF at saka DBM. Hopefully the SSS will also be participating in the continuing discussion mentioned by our DOF resource person earlier. Well noted yung initial observations nyo tungkol sa pangangailangan ng malinaw na definition ng informal workers, although we will also hear from our resource persons and leaders from the informal economy or sector, and I think they will be the best to give us the up-to-date definition for the information of the SSS. And sana nga po eventually SSS can find its way to supporting this bill and making recommendations para maging implementable ito, lalo na dahil kaya namin binibigyan din ng ganitong atensyon yung mga women in the informal economy dahil marami, kung hindi man lahat sila, ay hirap ni maging voluntary members ng SSS mismo. So in a way, the committee is really expecting a lot and is looking with hope towards SSS sa tulong ninyo sa pagpasa ng, pag-improve muna and then pagpasa ng panukalang ito. So salamat po, Attorney Desunya. Now, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. Our resource person from the DOH is already here, was already here earlier. Could I please call now Ms. Aileen Dayan Fernandez?
Good morning po, Madam Chair, and to the
Morning.
members of the committee. So we are currently finalizing po our position on this, and we will submit the official position to your committee. Allow me to read our technical inputs on the proposed Senate Bill number 148. On behalf of the
Please proceed.
Department of Health, we acknowledge the importance of providing additional maternity benefits to working mothers, including those who are in the informal economy, as this not only lessens the burden in their daily expenses, but ultimately contributes to the growing rate of breastfeeding mothers, which directly lowers the number of stunting and malnourished children. In the new sin tax laws of 2019 and 2020, the earmarking of total excise taxes are reserved for the implementation of the Universal Healthcare Act to be applied in the budget of the Department of Health and PhilHealth, medical assistance, and the Health Facilities Enhancement Program. Despite having the sin tax revenues earmarked for DOH and PhilHealth, this only comprised 58% or 155 billion of the 2022 GAA budget level of 268 billion. The rest of the appropriations are still shouldered by the national government from other revenues. The total collections for health from sin tax revenues is still insufficient to fully fund the implementation for universal healthcare, HFEP and MAIP, which leaves a funding gap ranging from 174 billion to 418 billion in the low and high scenarios respectively. Thus, we recommend to explore other funding sources such as the SDG Fund, which shall finance programs and projects that directly contribute to the achievement of SDGs, which is sourced from the 20% share of NEDA on the excise tax collections on alcohol and heated tobacco vapor products. In 2022, the total shares of NEDA from the sin tax revenues amounts to 16 billion pesos. As the proposed bill aims to ensure optimal maternal health consistent with the SDGs, this is more aligned with the allocation to attainment of SDGs of NEDA. Other proposed funding sources for the allocation may be explored to be derived from value-added tax or VAT or in the regular appropriations from DSWD as one-time financial assistance to the beneficiaries. That would be all, Madam Chair. Thank you very much po.
Thank you very much also, Ms. Dayan. The committee will be awaiting the department's position paper. And salamat dun sa panimulang pag-ambag nyo na dun sa tanong na ni-raise din kanina ng, I think it was PCW, about exploring other funding sources. So, well noted yung sa SDG fund. Bagamat if I got it correctly, ano din ito, percentage earmarked for NEDA within the syntaxes. And then, interesting, pag-aralan po natin yung sa VAT. And of course, we need to hear from DSWD on this being an item in the GAA for the DSWD. So maraming salamat po, Ms. Dayan. So at this point, dadako na tayo sa ating mga civil society organizations at academe. So let's hear first from Centro. Nice, Coronation.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Here is our
So
assumption.
sorry, you're here physically. Nahanap ko kayo online. Salamat for joining us physically. Okay,
Yeah.
please proceed.
You're welcome po. First, we are very supportive to the proposed Senate Bill 148 for the maternity leave benefits for the informal workers because like our fight for the expanded maternity leave law, this protects the reproductive health of our women workers, especially now in the informal economy. We know for a fact that ILO and even the Philippine Statistics Authority have definition for informal workers. But our assumption is that women workers in the informal sector are employed as self-employed, employer, or in unpaid family work because we argue that reproductive work is work, and there can be no productive work without reproductive work. So women workers are considered to be non-members of SSS if their insurance expenditure is zero. Estimated number of female workers in the informal sector who are not members of SSS based on the data crunch we have from our research from Labor Education and Research Network is 3.7 million, or to be exact, 3,738,547. In this scenario, the distribution of female workers in the informal sectors who are not non-members of SSS can be in different levels of percentage, but I can share to the committee the figures that we estimated. But in our calculation, almost 7 in 10 women, or 68%, are in the informal sector without insurance coverage. And they are in the bottom of 50% of the population in terms of income. At sa amin pong kasipagan yan, ay amin din pong inalam ano yung average na income ng family members na to at ano yung inaasahang bilang ng mga kababaihan gamit yung PSA Family Income and Expenditure Survey of 2021 sa kada taon. We are expecting that there will be 121,792. Those narinig ko sa opening statement ni Ms. Chair kanina, ni Senator Risa, na 215,000. Kung ika-calculate ito based sa paid minimum wage sa 44 days, ito ay abot ng 2,208,040 at 2,208,040,367 pesos. At sa mga news release, ang kinikita ng ating excise tax sa sin tax ay nasa 40 billion kasi hindi po namin alam yung exact figure. At kung ito ay para sa reproductive health ng ating mga manggagawa, ito ay maliit lang. So dun sa proposed bill, kitang-kita na kayang-kaya nating pondohan ang nasabing proposed bill. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat din, Nay. So, mukhang mag-numbers crunching dun sa continuing discussion at maaring hanggang sa technical working group. Maraming salamat. Okay, so now let's hear from HomeNet Philippines. Kay Ms. Primar ba o kay uh, Dr. Inday of Reneo.
Good morning. I would
Yes, good
prefer
morning.
that we listen first to Primar because she is president of HomeNet Philippines, if she's here. And then I can add
All,
a little after.
all right. Ms. Primar, andito po ba kayo online?
Yes, good morning po sa
Okay,
ating
please
lahat.
proceed. You have the floor. Please stay within 3 minutes.
Yes po.
Salamat po.
Timely na siguro po na mapasa natin itong bill ni Senator Risa dahil po
Ms. Primar, pwede nyo bang buksan yung video nyo? Kaya ba? Para makita namin
hindi po
kayo.
ma'am, mahina po
Di
yung
kaya.
signal dito.
O sige po, audio na lang muna ngayong umaga.
Opo,
Sige
opo.
po, tuloy po.
Sorry for this po.
Okay lang po.
Sa ngayon po ay lumulobo po talaga yung mga workers in the informal economy dahil sa sitwasyon ng ating pangkabuhayan, no, economic status ng ating bansa. At marami po sa nakaraang focus group discussions namin na research on maternity protection na marami po sa mga kababaihan talaga sa informal economy na hindi po nakatanggap ng sapat na mga benepisyo, no? Dahil hindi po sila member ng SSS, ng PhilHealth. So wala po silang proteksyon sa panahon ng panganganak. So sinusupport po sana namin at isinusulong yung pagpasa ng 44 days na cash benefit, no? Para sa mga women in the informal economy na nasa productive age na yung panahon sa panganganak. Kasi ang ano namin dito, matagal na advokasya sa SSS na nabilong lang palagi sa self-employed. So paano po yung mga nasa subcontracting at saka ang self-employed po ay burden pa rin dahil hindi po sapat ang kinikita para matustusan po ng regular ang paghuhulog sa SSS na babalikatin ang both employer and employee na contribution. At hindi po sapat ang kinikita nila given na nag-aggravate pa po ang sitwasyon nung panahon ng pandemya na nawalan po ng trabaho. So ang kahilingan po sana namin na tulad ng mga 4Ps, mga indigent na mga citizens po natin na mayroong sapat na pinagkukunan ng pondo mula sa gobyerno. Ganon din po sana yung sa informal economy na mabigyan po ng government subsidy para po dito, no, na hindi lamang po yung sa kung may pagkukunan po sa tulad ng sa from sin tax, no, alcohol at saka sigarilyo, ganon din po sana yung sa informal economy workers. Kasi burden po talaga ito at nag-aggravate pa siya yung unpaid care and domestic work na binabatas ng ng mga kababaihan lalo na po sa panahon ng panganganak nila. Thank you po.
Thank you rin po, Ms. Primar. So, Dr. Inday of Reneo, usually we only have one resource person per organization, pero dahil kayo ito, of course, we must hear you. Please proceed.
Okay, I also come from University of the Philippines, so I'm an academic too, and I would like to give some academic inputs because you have been asking about the numbers. Dr. Emily Cabigin of UP Soler, she has problems with her internet connection, but she can very well provide us with data based on time series for the last 10 years na 40 million or 80% of the total labor force are in the informal economy. She's a statistician and she has also followed through the SSS data, and she can actually prove that self-employed people are a real minority in the SSS, and many of these self-employed women are women. No? So that's one. Secondly, there is a research done by Social Watch, headed by Dr. Marivic Rakisa of the UP College of Public Administration on the implementation of the EML law, showing with very real evidence that many cannot
have access to SSS, especially with the shift to digital technology. First, there's lack of information. Secondly, there is the digital exclusion of women who are at low income levels, do not have access to internet, do not have mobile phones, etc. And they are in effect prevented from being members of SSS. So that has to be cured somehow with changes in SSS policies and programs. So we will provide you with the researches in due time, and we also have a joint position paper. Thank you very much for the time given to me.
Thank you so much also, Dr. Inday. Please request Dr. Emily to keep trying to come into the hearing. From our end, we'll also try to facilitate that para mamaya sa discussion, pwede rin silang magsalita, especially about her research and her data. Kindly also, Dr. Inday, provide the committee a copy of Dr. Marivic's study for Social Watch on the expanded maternity leave law. Dahil gaya nga po ng nabanggit ko kanina sa simula ng ating hearing, ito pong panukalang batas para makapagkaroon ng one-time maternity benefit ang ating mga kabaro sa informal economy, gusto sana namin ituring companion measure, kumbaga kabarong batas dun sa expanded maternity leave law. So we in the Senate, dapat hindi rin po namin kalimutang i-exercise yung oversight namin sa tamang pagpapatupad din nung naunang batas din. So please note also our resource person from SSS, yung binanggit ni Dr. Inday na yung isang resulta ng pag-aaral na yon ng Social Watch tungkol sa nagiging problema sa pag-access kahit ng mga kabaro namin na nasa formal economy dun sa expanded maternity leave law dahil sa digitalization ng SSS. So maraming salamat for those, Dr. Inday and Ms. Primar. Ngayon po, pakinggan natin yung ating resource person mula sa Alliance of Workers in the Informal Economy or Sector, yung ALWIS, si Ms. Susanita Tesiorna. Ma'am Babes.
Maraming salamat, Senadora. Una, pasalamat mo na ako. Kasi after the launching noong study ni Dr. Zambrano, nag-cooperate po kami. Of course, kasama po yun ng PIDS. Thank you na nag-file ka kaagad ng bill kahit nung previous Congress. Thank you for the recognition. Okay. So, una po ay doon sa statement ng DOF at saka ng DBM na may limitation na yung syntax. Ang panawagan po namin ay, or ang katotohanan ay, if the informal sector has contributed already 5.13 trillion to the GDP in the record of NEDA in 2016, bakit hindi bibigyan ng probiso ang informal sector? Pangalawa po, nais ko rin pong suportahan yung sinasabi ng SSS na yung clear-cut definition. Meron naman po, klaro na po yung informal sector. Again, paulit-ulit na namin yung binibigay sa SSS, PhilHealth, and other social protection agencies. As early as 2002, there was already an NSCB Resolution number 15, series of 2002, saan dinefine po clearly yung informal sector. And just a short, informal sector ay hindi yan tao. Sila ay economic activity, that is, okay. Ang tao po ay na-define under Republic Act 8425, yung NAPSILO. Nandoon po yung workers in the informal sector. Samantalang ang informal sector na-define ng NSCB but an enterprise-based definition. Yung sa NAPSI, it is a job-based definition. So, klaro po. Klaro po. So, yung informal economy man, bagamat wala pa tayong inadapt sa bansa natin, mamayang 1 o'clock may first TWG meeting ang PSA, so I have to leave early. So, maliwanag po na yung operationalization lang po ang kulang for statistical invisibility. But lahat naman tayo ay sumasang-ayon na meron dapat standard definition, although the conceptual. And we have already the ILO recommendation 204, which clearly define the informal economy. And the informal economy ay in-address niya yung kakulangan kapag informal sector lang, which is happening, especially now, lalong dumami ng dumami ang workers in the informal economy, not only in the informal sector. At yung sa definition po, klaro din, under the ILO recommendation 204, yung iba't ibang scope, sino-sino ba ang nasa informal economy? Informal sector is just one. Isa lang po siya. Pag sinabi ng informal economy, it includes already workers either in the public sector and even private sector. So yun po siguro kahit yung naunang batas sa expanded maternity protection, medyo hindi yun maliwanag kahit anong namin, hindi naliwanag yun dahil kung naliwanag yun, klaro na dapat na wala nang may i-exclude. Para sa amin kasi, tama si Professor Inday na maraming na-i-exclude doon, even those in the formal employment. So, napakahalaga po, and we will submit the position paper for that, official, and then mga references. At yung, again, yung sa syntax, yung sinabi na nga kanina, sinabi ko na nga na we contributed 5.013 trillion to the GDP in 2016, according to PSA, okay? Ay maliwanag din po kung gaano kadami ang informal economy, the whole of informal economy. So informal sector ang pinakamarami doon. So ilan po yung nagpo-contribute sa syntaxis? Maraming nanigarilyo, di ba? Maraming naninigarilyo dyan. Sigurado ako informal sector yan. Kaya magkano po ang na-contribute namin? So napakalaki ng contribution na ibigay namin. At bagamat ang mga informal sector or informal economic units ay under the syntax law ay na-distinguish na doon for equality sa mga kumikita sa minimum wage earners sa formal labor ay nakalagay na doon na 250,000 and below, libre na rin kami sa taxes. Pero sa local government po, napakalaki po ng binabayaran. So titingnan natin, ito yung isa. Kung pupunta tayo sa formalization ng informal sector, isa sa pinakamalaking balakid. Bakit hindi natin ma-formalize itong mga sektor? At bakit kahit social kahit hindi maka-access sa credit? At pag hindi maka-access sa credit, lagi naming sinasabi na pag nagkasakit yan at walang PhilHealth, walang SSS, babalik na naman sa zero, yung kanilang kita ay mapupunta lang sa mahal na, hindi magkasya na mahal na gastos ng gobyerno. So dapat ito, panawagan ko na it has to take all the facets of poverty, especially the social protection, kasi social protection to. At napakalaki din po ng maitulong nito in tandem doon sa Exclusive Breastfeeding Act. Doon kami nagkakilala ni Dr. Zambrano, siya sa UNICEF. Kami naman ang nagpilot ng paano gagawin sa informal workplaces. And we ended up in the ASEAN as nag-best ang Pilipinas on that. Okay. Na-report ni Mien sa UN yan. Okay. And it is in the 2015 Global UNICEF report. Ang ganyan sa informal workplaces. So napakalaki kasi kung yung mabigyan sila ng pondo rin para sila ay ma-enjoy din nila yung with the birth, with the new para sa pagpapasuso, at least yung 0 to 6 months yung exclusive. Pag natulungan sila, it means na yung economic napakalaking matipid from using formula. Health, napakalaki. I think kasama na siguro yan sa study nila ni Dr. Zambrano, ang PIDS, kasi may mga previous na yan. So kitang-kita po kung paano. And then, pag maging healthy yung baby, dahil nabigyan ng pagkakataon si nanay na mag-breastfeed exclusively, what will the effect? We will have healthy workforce in the future. So napakahalaga po, manawagan ako sa DOF, iyak ako. DOF at saka DBM and other agencies to take care of the women in the informal sector because they are our backbones in the agriculture sector. Napaka-sakit ba isipin na hanggang ngayon, hindi pa rin napapakinggan. There is so much in social justice for the informal sector, especially. And even those na hindi na-uorganisa unorganizable in the private sector. So, napakalaki. Maraming hindi nababayaran ng PhilHealth or SSS sa mga private sector. At nakita namin yan, sinampal tayo ng katotohanan during the pandemya. Maraming hindi nakakatanggap. And those are the, one of the problems talaga ng walang klarong ng definition. But mind you, again, sinabi ko, klaro po yung definition ng informal sector by NECB Resolution number 15, series of 2002, and its attachments. Okay? Then klaro din po yung conceptual definition ng informal economy. Oo. And ang kulang na lang po is to operationalize that para sa statistical invisibility. Maklaro talaga, ilan ba yung informal economy na nasa private sector, meaning hindi binabayaran? Ilan ba talaga ang informal sector who cannot afford? At ilan ba yung informal sector na talagang kailangan nila ng assistance? Kasi we know that our money also, money from the government is not enough for all of us. Kaya kailangan makita natin sino dapat ang magbayad. PhilHealth and SSS are all mandatory. Pero tama yung aking mga kasama kaninang nauna na yung tagumpay namin noon sa PhilHealth, sa bagong Universal Healthcare Law, ibinalik kami sa step 1. Thank you po.
Thank you, Miss Babes. At na-appreciate po at nakikiisa yung komite kahit sa luha ninyo. We really appreciate po yung heartfelt po na pakikilahok ng government agencies man at ng mga civil society colleagues sa ganitong mga pagdinig ng aming komite. So napakayaman na pala yung pag nag-review of lit tayo sa definition na ibinibigay sa informal economy na sa loob noon informal sector, tulad din ng itinanong ng SSS kanina. So well noted po yung hindi maliit na ambag sa GDP mula pa nung kahit sa taong 2016 ayon sa PSA, halos kasinlaki po ng proposed national budget ng gobyerno para sa susunod na taon, 5 trilyon at higit. And then yung definition ng informal economy, informal sector sa NSCB issuance number 2 nung taong 2002, so 2 dekada na pala. And of course, yung definition nito sa NAPSI law na job-based at sa ILO recommendation nung 204 enterprise-based yung sa NSCB, job-based naman po yung sa NAPSI law, and then yung ILO recommendation. So abangan po talaga nung komite yung position paper ng inyong alyansa, and very good point po yung malaking ambag ng informal economy at informal sector sa syntaxes. Kaya po makatwira na sa ganitong panukala, yun ang unang tukuyin na source of funding para sa batas na to. Ngayon ko rin lang po narinig yung problematic situation kaugnay ng ating mga local government units. So moving forward po, interesanting pag-aralan yon, paano po ma-free up yung ganung block. Dahil alam din po natin kahit sa ganitong mga batas o panukalang batas, kapag dumating sa punto ng implementasyon, ang halaga ng papel ng ating mga LGUs. So, okay, ang dami pong na-cite na sources. So thank you very much for that. Pati po galing sa local UNICEF report. Maraming salamat po, Ms. Babes. So ngayon po, pakinggan naman po natin ang Magna Carta for Workers in the Informal Sector Alliance o yung magkaisa. Actually na sila rin ang resource person para sa Democratic Socialist Women of the Philippines. So please take a few more minutes kasi you are representing 2 organizations in this hearing. Ms. Elizabeth Angshoko.
Thank you very much, Sen. Risa. The committee chair, members of the committee, other resource persons, and guests, good morning. Thank you for again giving the Democratic Socialist Women of the Philippines and Magkaisa this opportunity to put forward our position on another bill that, if passed, will surely benefit the millions of workers, women workers in the informal economy in general, and specifically at least 90% of DSWP's membership and a significant number of Magkaisa's membership. Women's maternal functions are not solely the responsibility of women. They must be considered as social responsibility. The continuation of the human race depends on these women's roles, for without these functions, or if women refuse to perform these roles, there will not be the next generation of workers, professionals, artists, public servants, and even government officials. What will happen to society and the human race then? This is extreme, of course, but nonetheless true. Thus, society and government in particular should see to it that women in the performance of their maternal functions receive the support they need so they are able to have safe pregnancies and deliveries, are able to regain their health after delivery, and are able to care for and nurture their infants. After all, the well-being of babies also depends on the well-being of their mothers. Women who are formally employed can now be supported by a number of laws. The millions of women workers in the informal economy, estimated by the latest research by UP's Dr. Emily Cabegin as 77% of all Filipino women workers, do not have this support. SB 148 is correct in addressing this huge gap by providing a cash maternity benefit to these women who are subjected to greater vulnerabilities owing to poverty and exclusion in legislation and existing government programs. However, we need to be clear in our identification of who the women workers in the informal economy are. I am happy that Babes Teshorna actually mentioned that there are also women workers in the informal economy in the public sphere. Those working in and for government classified as volunteers, contractual, job orders, and contract of service workers by virtue of the absence of an employee-employer relationships belong to the informal economy. Included in these categories are the BHWs, BNS, daycare workers, those who are in the field implementing various government programs, and others. They are the workhorses of government, and without them, government will have major difficulties in reaching the poorest, hard to reach, and isolated and most vulnerable Filipinos. In terms of numbers, according to the DOH, in an ongoing updating of records, as of 2022, there were at least 224,886 BHWs nationwide. In 2021, the DSWD said that there were 79,451 untenured barangay daycare workers. In April 2020, there were 49,942 barangay nutrition scholars deployed in 39,942 barangays nationwide. In a Senate hearing in September 2022, the Department of Budget, citing Civil Service Commission data, said that as of June 2022, there were 642 non-permanent government workers. 493,900 of these are JOs, and 148,000 are on contractual basis. The local government code provides a maximum of 20 tanod for each barangay. It is safe to assume that these untenured government workers are significantly composed of women, and they are in the informal economy. With these numbers, we must conclude that any bill that seeks to provide maternity benefits to women workers in the informal economy must include those working for government as a matter of social justice, gender equity, and human rights. Senator Hontiveros and members of the committee, the DSWP proposes an amendment to the bill that will include women workers in the informal economy working in and for government in its coverage. Concretely, we propose to amend Section 11 of Republic Act 11210 or the expanded maternity leave to read as maternity benefits for female workers who are non-members of the SSS and GSIS female workers who are neither voluntary nor regular members of the SSS, and those who work in government who are not members of the GSIS shall receive through the Department of Social Welfare and Development a one-time and so forth and so on. I quote your bill on this. Senator, we fervently hope that the committee will favorably consider our proposed amendment. Rest assured that the DSWP and Magkaisa will continue to strongly support the passage of this important bill into law. Lastly, we would like to express our willingness to participate in future Senate processes in the consideration of this bill until it is passed by Congress. Again, thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you very much also, Ms. Beth, for the strong support pareho ng Magkaisa at saka ng DSWP, and for the very good points, no, comments and recommendations. Nakaligtaan kong sabihin din kay Ms. Babes kanina, and also the chair would like to say to Ms. Beth, salamat for pointing out how in overseeing the implementation of the expanded maternity leave law at ngayon sa pagsulong nitong maternity benefit for women in the informal economy, pwede nating siguruhin na nobody falls through the cracks. Walang naging invisible or magiging invisible kasi natukoy nyo yung parang mga kabaro natin who are in between the law and this bill now. So yung mga women in the sasabihing informal economy but nasa formal economy pala sila and they are in the public sector. So maraming salamat para doon. Very well noted po. And thank you for mentioning, referring to the data we have from the DSWD, referring to the local government code. And yes, well noted yung recommendation of amendment to Section 11 of the expanded maternity leave law. So maraming salamat. Now we will hear from the United Domestic Workers of the Philippines o UDWP. Nalagpasan lang po sila, pagpaumanhin po niyo dahil lang sa late login. I'd like to recognize now Ms. Himaya Montenegro.
Ay, wait lang. Good morning. Wait.
Yes, Ms. Himaya, good morning.
Good morning, Senador Risa, at saka sa lahat po ng mga panauhin ngayong araw na ito. Salamat po sa pag-invite po sa amin sa pamamagitan po ng sentro. May binahagi pa ako sa chat kasi ang sentro kanina ay nagbahagi na si Nay. So, ang ibabahagi ko ngayon ay more on, hinihingal ako, more on ano po.
Sige lang po.
Yung experience po talaga namin. So, kahit na kami ay nasahanay po ng mga kasambahay, pero kahit na mayroon pong batas na nagpoprotekta dito,
walang attachment to?
Sorry, Ms. Himaya. Yung ibang resource person na hindi pa magsasalita, paki-mute. Tuloy po, Ms. Himaya.
Okay po. So, yun, magbabahagi ako.
Ms. Himaya, nawala lang yung video nyo. Hindi ba kaya yung video?
Nag-automatic po siya na
sige po.
nawawala.
Okay, kahit audio na muna. Sige po, tuloy po.
Pero in-on ko po. Ayun po. So nagbahagi na po ako sa chat, pero uulitin ko po, i-emphasize ko po na kahit na mayroon na pong batas kasambahay na nagpoprotekta sa amin, so kami ay nasa formal economy na sana. Pero challenges po talaga sa amin yung transition from informal to formal, no? Gaya ng sinasabi ni Tita Babes, T-Shore na ang hirap po talaga bakahin yung ating sistema kasi kahit na mayroon ng batas, pero hindi pa rin ito na-implement na maayos. So, kagaya ng sinasabi ko na nasa chat, na nahihirapan po kaming sa aming hanay, sa kasambahay, nahihirapan po mag-avail doon sa mga benefits po, lalo na sa SSS. So, kapag nawalan po kami ng trabaho, hindi po kami makakuha ng employment benefits dahil nga po wala kaming employee at saka employee relationship. Kumbaga, hindi po kami pumapasa doon sa requirement ng DOLE na kailangan namin ng certification ng employer, kailangan ng kontrata para sila ang magsi-certify para ipasa sa SSS para makakuha kami ng benepisyo. So sa panahon ng pandemic po, halos sa aming hanay sa ibabase na lang natin sa membership na United na nasa 6,000 po mahigit ay 90% po sa amin ay nawalan ng trabaho. Karamihan po sa kanila hindi nakakuha ng ayuda. Sorry.
Okay lang po, Miss Himaya.
Opo. At saka ang hirap po talaga sa panahon na yun. Lalo na po ngayon. Tapos, hindi po kami nakakuha ng ayuda kasi wala daw kami sa list kahit na nagbibigay na po ang dole ng listahan. Nakasama nga po ang mga kasambahay doon sa pagkuha. Ang hirap po makipag-engage sa mga LGU sa pagkuha ng mga benepisyo. Hindi lang po sa mga social benefits kung hindi pati na po sa LGU kasi sa kanila po binababa kung ano man po mga financial assistance na kailangan kukunin ng ating mga kasambahay. Kaya ni-emphasize ko po na mas malaki po o masusolusyonan po yung mga gaps sa mga batas lalo na po yung sa AML na hindi rin po makaka-avail yung ating mga kasambahay dahil ang hirap po talagang maka-avail sa SSS kahit na sinite naman po ng nasundan kong speaker kanina sa DSWD na madali lang sanang kukunin yun. Pero sa totoong buhay po sa amin po, ay wala pong nakakakuha doon sa mga benefits na yon. So, inaasahan po namin at saka malakas po ang aming pwersa na pagsuporta ditong bill na to na sana ay maipasa ito para ma-fill upan po yung gap sa iba pang mga batas na para wala pong mga kababaihan na kumbaga nobody left behind po talaga. Lahat po ay matutulungan po ng batas na ito. Yun lang po, Senador. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat din po, Ms. Himaya. Well noted po yung mga punto ninyo tungkol sa SSS, at batid po ng komite yung hirap na dinanas talaga ng sektor ninyo nitong mga taon ng pandemya, kahit pa sa pag-access ng mga social protection sana na pang-pandemya, no? Yung ayuda, yung pagbalik sa trabaho. And noted ulit yung binanggit din po ni Miss Babes kanina na nagiging problematic pala yung implementasyon kahit ng mga batas na ito kaugnay ng LGUs na sana isang pangunahing partner naming mga mambabatas, may mga local legislators din naman po sa pagpapatupad ng mga batas at mga programang ito. Naisip ko po tuloy, Ms. Himaya, moving forward, baka magandang maisama po yung mga leagues natin, no, sa maybe sa technical working group tungkol sa pag-finalize ng batas na ito. Well noted din yung sinabi nyo, Ms. Himaya, tungkol sa implementasyon ng expanded maternity leave law. Yun na nga, no, yung inilalaban ninyo na magkaroon ng employer-employee relationship na yung certificate of employment, yung isang patunay o isang dokumento, may mga kailangan talaga tayong itulay para yung mga ipinapanalo nating mga batas, pangkababaihan, kung may nauna na para sa employed, formally employed, dapat masiguro natin na may katibayan kayo doon. O kumbaga may security in that sense, may security of tenure kahit sa pagpapakinabang sa mga ganitong social protection. And then ganun ding prinsipyo moving forward sa panukala ngayon. So maraming salamat po sa inyo, Ms. Himaya. Ngayon naman po pakinggan natin mula sa Metro Manila Vendors Alliance o MMVA, si Ms. Flora Santos. Magandang umaga po. Ms. Flora, napaka-choppy po ng audio nyo. Pwede nyo pong ayusin tapos lakasan ng konti para marinig namin kayo?
Senadora, hindi rin ako high-tech. So talaga, hanap ako. Tawagin ko muna yung marunong.
Ayun, medyo mas naririnig na po namin kayo ngayon ang hindi masyadong putol-putol. Medyo mahina lang.
Okay. So magandang umaga sa lahat ng mga kasama ngayon. Lalo na sa ating mahal na senadora. Sa Metro Manila Vendor,
Miss Flora, pasensya po. Super choppy na naman po. Sayang yung input nyo. Kung pwedeng paayos sa kasama nyo yung audio nito.
yun daw. Mahina. O baka pwede sa susunod na ako, senadora, ayos na.
Miss Flora, halos hindi po namin kayo marinig. Baka pwede, ano kaya, mag-log out ba muna sila tapos log in ulit? Paano ba? Ganon? Okay. Miss Flora, isara nyo na lang yung video nyo para at least yung audio nyo marinig namin ng malinaw.
Video daw sana. Patikat mo.
Ayan. Subukan. Ayun, mas malakas na po.
Okay, very good.
Better po. Sige po, Miss Flora, tuloy po kayo.
Mula sa Metro Manila Vendors, kami ay natuwa at inibitahan kami sa po kaila sa ating lahat na dumadami na maninda.
Miss Flora, ngayon hindi na naman namin kayo marinig. Tapos dahil hindi namin kayo makita, hindi namin mabasa yung labi nyo kung anong sinasabi nyo. Paano ba? Mag-log out ba muna sila? Then log in ulit? Ganun na lang.
Susunod na speaker.
Miss Flora, sayang po yung input nyo. Ang payo namin sa ngayon, mag-log out na muna kayo and then mag-log in ulit. Baka mas okay na yung audio nyo by then. Tapos tatawagin ko kayo ulit pagbalik nyo dito sa hearing.
Opo, salamat.
Okay po, salamat po Miss Flora. Sige, balikan po natin sila mamaya. So sa ngayon, pakinggan na po muna natin mula sa Partido Manggagawa, si Ms. Ethel Fortaleza.
Asan na ba si Oyet? Oyet, please.
Ms. Ethel? Ms. Ethel, nandito ba kayo online? Okay, andito si Ms. Ethel kanina pero kung wala sa ngayon, balikan po natin mamaya yung Partido Manggagawa kasabay ng MMVA. So ngayon, ayan, parang nakita ko kaninang nakapasok itong susunod na resource person natin na binanggit din ng mga naunang resource person mula sa UP Soler, Dr. Emily Cabegin. Dr. Emily, are you online, ma'am? Nawala yata si Dr. Emily. Pwede nating kontakin na lang na bumalik na lang mamaya ulit. So, pakinggan na po natin yung isa pang sinasite ng mga resource persons natin na unang nagsalita mula sa Alive and Thrive East Asia Pacific, Dr. Paul Zambrano.
Good morning, Madam Senator.
Good morning,
Chair.
Doctor. You have the floor.
And good morning to all our colleagues, sa mga kasama natin sa mga iba't ibang alyansa na nagsalita. It's very humbling po to hear from the potential beneficiaries of this bill, and also very humbling to see na yung work that we started with Ms. Babes and other colleagues has also reached this point. So there's a lot of progress, and we're very humbled to have played a role for that. So thank you so much to the Office of Senator Risa for taking up the findings of our research. And just to reiterate what Ms. Babes mentioned, this was a collaboration between many actors such as Always and PIDS. So I'm one of many authors and contributors to this study. But all the same, thank you so much. I will start by saying that we anchor this bill on breastfeeding. And we do know that breastfeeding affects all the SDGs, not just the health-related SDGs. We know that breastfeeding has health benefits. We've heard from everyone, lahat na nagsabi ng health benefits, alam na po natin to. Pero marami pong nagbago din sa kaalaman natin. Simula nung na-publish namin yung paper na to, mabilis umaandar ang ebidensya. Isa dito, mas marami ng ebidensya sa benefit ng breastfeeding sa maternal health and maternal mental health, hindi lamang sa physical health. Pangalawa, mas kinikilala na po ng mundo, hindi lang ang health benefits ng breastfeeding, kundi ang economic benefit ng breastfeeding. Not just the economic benefit of breastfeeding itself, but the economic benefit of the breast milk itself. Ito po ang first food system. Ito po ang pinaka-food secure na source of food for our infants and has tremendous benefit not just to food security but also to greenhouse gas emissions compared to using commercial milk formula. And we're also learning more about the economic consequence of poor breastfeeding practices. So economic po lahat, the benefits and the consequences. That's why nung Lancet po, it's the most prestigious medical journal in just this year, they published a new series which highlighted that breastfeeding is a collective social responsibility and that part of the policy action should be the equitable implementation of maternity protection policies. And in many cases, they also mentioned that in many countries, the gap is in the coverage of informal sector workers. So we know that the economic contribution of breastfeeding and breast milk is there, but it's tied to our recognition of the economic contribution of unpaid care work. And this also ties up to the need to ensure that informal sector workers are adequately covered by existing entitlements, or if none, then we need to act at policy level. But we know that it's challenging for policy to often determine how much. Magkano ang policy? Magkano ang implementasyon? What is the cost of action and not just the consequence of inaction? And in our paper, we cite similar costing studies in Ghana and Brazil and in Mexico who applied a similar costing model to determine the financing need to cover informal sector workers through a maternity cash transfer, a non-contributory maternity cash transfer. And the good thing with our costing model doon sa paper is that it can be flexible to different scenarios. We model different scenarios in the paper, but should we decide to maybe tweak a few of them, including how we define informal sector workers, the model is able to do that. So we at Alive and Thrive are, of course, ready to continue to provide technical assistance as needed on the costing side or to better articulate the overall evidence for this policy and how it ties up with breastfeeding and our SDGs. And we have existing capacities for economic analysis and often collaborate with world-renowned health economists and feminist economists as well. So we are able to support moving forward. And we are prepared, and we're also preparing a technical note, which we will be submitting after the meeting. And again, I'll end by saying again, thank you so much to all of you for taking up our research and for collectively recognizing this important gap in coverage. And a belated Happy Mother's Day greeting to all our mothers in the floor. Thank you so much. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much also, Dr. Zambrano. It's great to hear na yung pananaliksik nyo at yung advocacy nyo anchored on breastfeeding and the SDGs, shedding new light on breastfeeding's good effects for maternal mental health, and of course the economic benefits not only of breastfeeding but of breast milk. Ang ganda po nung yung breast milk is actually the first element in food security, no, of a society and of a country. At napaka-interesante din yung kaugnayan nito sa effort natin nationally and globally para bawasan yung greenhouse gas emissions sa ating planeta. Ang ganda din po ng language dun sa Lancet about breastfeeding being a collective social responsibility. And just to also go back dun sa mga unang inputs ng lalo na ng DOF at DBM, I think malaking tulong po sa komite lalo na pag pinadala nyo na po, Doctor, yung inyong technical note, yung costing studies nyo, saka yung costing models na dinedevelop nyo. Mabuti yung studies from Ghana, Brazil, Mexico, so mga nasa Global South din tulad natin sa Pilipinas. Maybe we can be the first in Asia kasi meron na ditong Africa, may Latin America. Baka pwede tayo makadevelop ng unang costing model for Asia. So looking forward talaga po dun sa mapel na gagampanan ninyo at nung research ninyo hanggang pa sa technical working group. So maraming salamat po. Ngayon, ipagpasensya nyo nalaktawan ko sa listahan natin. Nalingat yung mata ko. From the, nasa na ba yun? National Network of Informal Workers o PATAMBA, si Ms. Lourdes Gula.
Magandang umaga po.
Magandang umaga.
Magandang umaga, Senadora. Una, maraming salamat po sa pagbibigay sa amin, lalo na itong isinusulong na batas na para sa kapakanan ng mga partikular na mga manggagawa sa informal economy, lalo't higit yung mga kababaihan na majority talaga sa informal economy ay kababaihan. So,
Ms. Lourdes, sorry, nabubuksan niyo po ba yung video niyo or hindi po?
itry ko po.
Subukan na lang po.
Kasi
Kung hindi
medyo,
kaya, okay na po yung audio. Pero kung kaya
ayan,
yung,
ayan.
salamat. And
Ayan.
patamaba, sorry, patamaba po. Okay, patuloy po, Ms. Lourdes.
Okay po, salamat po. Sa ngalan po ng Pambansang Kalipunan ng mga manggagawang informal sa Pilipinas, kami po ay sumusuporta doon sa bill na inyong isinusulong dahil malaking bagay po talaga ito sa aming hanay, lalo na doon sa mga nabanggit na nagsipagsalita, no, hindi ko na uulitin yung kanilang binanggit at yung sa mga research na talaga namang marami sa kabuang lakas paggawa ay mula sa informal economy at pawang mga kababaihan. So kami po sa ngalan ng organisasyon ay sumusuporta sa bill at sana po nais ko na rin pong samantalahin yung panawagan sapagkat kung titignan talaga sa hanay ng paggawa, wala talagang batas na naglilingkod para sa mga manggagawa under sa informal economy. So, itong pagkakataon na ito ay sinasamantala na rin po namin sapagkat meron pa ring isang panukalang batas na gusto namin na isulong. Nakabahagi pa rin po dito yung may kaugnayan sa external maternity leave, yung para sa particular sa mga manggagawa sa informal economy. Ito po yung Magna Carta of Workers in the Informal Economy. So parang ang binabanggit po natin dito, bukod dito sa batas na talagang tutulong sa mga kababaihang nagbubuntis, lalo na sa informal economy, hindi lang po yung nasa reproductive health, karamihan pa rin po dito ay yung teenage pregnancy, maraming mga kabataang babae na lalo na yun nasa kanugnog na lugar na hindi talaga naaabot ng ating mga serbisyo. So sa pamamagitan ng batas na ito ay aming tinitignan na malaking bagay ito lalo na yung ating mga kababaihang IPs, mga kababaihang mga batang nabubuntis na nasa pinakamahihirap na lugar na hindi naaabot. So ang importante din po dito once na ito ay naipsabata, sana yung information dissemination ay maisagawa din natin para mas maabot niya yung talagang mga kababaihan na kinakailangang makakuha ng serbisyong ito. So muli po, maraming salamat at Senadora at kaagapay niyo po kami at hanggang sa maisabatas itong batas na ito ay kasama niyo po kami. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat din po, Ms. Lourdes, para sa suporta at pag-agapay ng Patamaba. At sa pagbanggit din niyo po tungkol sa MACWI at yung iba pang mga issue na mahalaga sa atin, hindi lang sa komiteng ito pero sa ating mga kabaro, yung teenage pregnancy, yung kalagayan din ng mga kabaro nating katutubong Pilipino. So maraming salamat po. Balikan po natin yung 3 resource persons natin na hindi nagkaroon ng maayos pa na internet connection kanina. Online na po ba si Ms. Flora Santos ng Metro Manila Vendors Alliance?
Yes, Senadora.
Okay, ayun, ang linaw.
Okay ba?
Sige po, tuloy po.
Okay, ulitin ko. Magandang umaga at nagpapasalamat kay Senadora sa pag-imbita sa amin ng mga liliit na manininda. Ito yung mga street vendor, Senadora. Bago ako ipasok yung posisyon namin sa bill, gusto ko lang ipaalam yung tunay na kalagayan ng mga manininda ngayon. Patuloy na kahirapan at kagutuman ang dinadanas nila dahil sa napakatumal. Pangalawa, may mga harassment pa rin sila nararanasan sa vending site nila. At kung may vending site man sila, temporary, hindi ho permanent. Kaya mga kasama, marami ang nagugutom ngayon. Kaya kami ang marami rin kababaihan sa vendors. Okay. Kaya sana itong binanggit nung unang nagsalita sa akin ay yung comprehensive na batas sana para sa manininda at sa all informal sector kasi marami pong problema, hindi lang sa kababaihan, hindi tungkol lang doon sa nagbubuntis, kundi buo. Kailangan natin ang isang batas na magtatanggol sa kasiguruhan ng kanilang kabuhayan. Yan po ang aming pangarap ng mga manininda. Yung problema natin sa manininda, marami sa kanila hindi sila member ng SSS, no? Kasi nga ay hindi naman sila formal at kung mayroon initiative man na nag-member as self-employed, nahirapan pa rin sila magbayad kasi sila na yung magbabayad ng both the employer at saka yung sa kanila. Kaya sa tingin ko, yung usapin sa subsidy, gusto ko ring banggitin, subsidy ng gobyerno para maging member sila ng SSS. Oo. So yun po isang problema. Kaya mga kasama, yung batas na ito para sa kababaihan na para sa maternity benefit ay napakahalaga sa buhay ng mga manininda kasi nakakarami nga kababaihan ay wala na nga sila pambili ng halos na pagkain. Tapos pag ikaw pa ay manganak at wala kang natatanggap, dagdag yan no, sa kahirapan nila. Kaya napakaganda itong initiative ni Senadora at nagpapasalamat kami dahil marami sa atin mga manininda, yung mga anak-anak ng mga manininda na may edad na, ay problema yon yung sa pagbubuntis, okay? Kasi itong mga maninda galing sa komunidad, ito yung mga pinakamahirap na ating hanay sa ating lipunan, di ba? Oo, yung laylayan, yan ang mga nasa laylayan. Kaya kailangan maraming serbisyo ang kailangan na iayos natin, lalong-lalo itong mga batas na nilalakad natin lahat, ay sana ay mapasa, no? Pasa itong maternity benefit nito at iba pang batas para sa ganon ay maging maayos ang buhay ng mga nasa laylayan, mga mahihirap nating kababayan. Kaya nananawagan ako sa lahat ng senador at congressman na dapat itong batas na ito na inaayos natin ay sana sumuporta. Dahil sigurado naman ay maraming matutuwa nating kababayan. At yung mga pondo, marami nagpaliwanag na sa pondo, no? Sana hindi lang sa SSS, kundi sa DBM. I'm sure ay maraming mapagkunan na pondo. Sa iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno, sa iba't ibang department, ay sa tingin ko mag-contribute dito sa kailangan ng mga kababaihang informal economy kasi kailangan nila. So, yung mga batas na ito ay sana hindi lang mapasa kundi ma-implement. Kasi meron narinig ko din mga ibang at karanasan namin, no? Hindi sa local government, the ordinances, barangay policies, kung gagawa tayo ng batas, ensure tiyak natin lahat na mapapatupad para matuwa ang ating kababayan na talagang ang ating gobyerno ay tunay na naglilingkod sa maralita. So, Senadora, tinitiyak ko po sa iyo na kami sa MMBA ay susuporta at kikilos, no? Kasama niyo kami. Kung sabihin mo lang kung kailangan kami, willing po kami mag-participate sa lahat ng process. Yun po. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat.
Maraming salamat din po, Ms. Flora. At nabanggit nyo rin po kanina yung mga congressperson, so yung mga representante po natin. So maghahanap din po ang komite ng magka-counterpart measure na ganito sa House of Representatives para maging ganap na batas. Salamat pong muli. Ngayon, balikan po natin ang Partido Manggagawa, Ms. Ethel Fortaleza. Online na po ba kayo, Miss Ethel? Ayun. Naka-mute kayo, Miss Ethel. Paki-unmute.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning po.
Partido ng Manggagawa welcomes Senate Bill number 148, or the Maternity Benefit for Women in the Informal Economy, sponsored by the Honorable Senator Risa Hontiveros. We agree with Senator Risa that after securing maternity benefits for women workers in the formal economy through Republic Act number 11210, it is high time that we also provide maternity benefits to women workers in the informal economy. PM sees the importance of enabling working mothers to breastfeed because breastfeeding helps protect babies against short and long-term illnesses and diseases, as numerous scientific studies have proven, and at the same time helps lessen families' health expenses in the long run. As mentioned in the bill, the passage of the proposed measure would lead to demonstrable and quantifiable health outcomes at the population level. PM has a significant number of members among women workers in the informal economy nationwide. Organizing them in the various communities in different parts of the country has made us aware of the importance of such measures to the lives of these working women. The high cost of living has made it difficult for them to cope with the needs of their families, and infant formulas are way too expensive for them. Maternity benefit in the form of a cash benefit would be truly beneficial, enabling them to breastfeed after giving birth. It was an honor working with Senator Risa for the passage of RA 1121-0, or the expanded maternity law. It would be a pleasure for us to work with her toward the passage of SB 148. And to our honorable senators, we are sincerely seeking your support for the passage of SB 148. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much din, Ms. Ethel. At oo, patuloy sana maging mabunga yung ating partnership mula pa nung expanded maternity leave law at iba pa. Let me stick Saan na ba yun? Okay. So again, thank you very much, Ms. Ethel. Ngayon, nandito na po ba si Dr. Emily Cabegin ng UP Soler? Okay. Sayang. Wala sila. Pero baka moving forward hanggang sa technical working group ay sana makasama pa natin sila na nauna na silang binanggit, both ni na Dr. Inday at ni Ms. Beth and others of our resource persons. So, maraming salamat po sa mga resource persons na nagbahagi dun sa una nating tinatalakay na panukalang batas, yung batas para sa maternity benefit sa women in the informal economy. Dadako na po tayo sa pagtalakay nung pangalawang panukalang batas. May mga resource persons din naman na nagsalita sa unang bill, magsasalita din sa pangalawa. So, please do stay on with us. At yung mga hindi na magsasalita sa pangalawang bill, maraming salamat po at magkita po tayo sa technical working group at dun sa plenary deliberations. Salamat. Ingat po. Okay. Dako po tayo dito sa Positive Parenting of Children Act. It has been more than a decade since we ratified the Convention on the Rights of the Child. To complement this commitment, national and international non-government organizations that represent children and countless numbers of parent advocates have been pushing for a positive parenting policy. We must acknowledge the reality that physical and degrading punishment of children remains widespread at ito ay may masamang epekto sa kanilang psychosocial well-being. Ayon sa National Baseline Study on Violence Against Children, isang komprehensibong pag-aaral na isinagawa ng Council for the Welfare of Children at ng UNICEF, 1/3 of respondents endured extreme forms of abuse such as slapping, kicking, smothering, drowning, and burning. Some of them even required hospitalization because of the extreme violence they underwent. A child should never experience these horrendous acts of violence. Experts and extensive research have shown that resorting to physical and psychological violence as a form of discipline negatively affects children's mental health. The use of physical force can also even increase the likelihood of the child developing delinquent and antisocial behavior. Therefore, it can even achieve the opposite effect of what parents intend. Children can develop more disagreeable behavior. The use of physical and degrading punishment also runs contrary to the valuable lesson of mature reasoning. Kung tayo ngang mga nakatatanda ay iniinda ang pisikal at emosyonal na pananakit, paano pa kaya sa mga bata na isa sa mga pinaka-vulnerableng sektor ng ating lipunan? Yes, we have made strides in our laws protecting children from abuse. However, existing laws alone are insufficient. Are insufficient to encourage positive forms of parenting. We need to work with parents and guardians in encouraging healthier relationships with our children by helping find effective and non-harmful ways to discipline our children while respecting parents' rights and at the same time upholding children's rights. Positive parenting is an approach that is nonviolent and teaches children to understand and abide by rules in a capacity-building manner. Preliminary research has shown that positive parenting reduces behavioral problems and strengthens positive development among children. It encourages children to develop social and emotional skills and to distinguish between right and wrong in their everyday lives. The Positive Parenting Bill aims to equip parents and institutions by developing a comprehensive program that teaches and encourages positive parenting in diverse settings. It provides educational and psychosocial support for families and institutions to foster positive and healthier relationships with children. I look forward to hearing your positions and suggestions to ensure that the bill encourages a kind of parenting that shuns the physical and degrading punishment of children and effectively improves family relations healthily and positively. So I'd like to proceed to the presentation of comments and proposals from our invited resource persons. At katulad nung kanina, I'm kindly requesting that all resource persons share the highlights of their position papers and just submit the full document to the committee. Thank you very much. Now, tatawagin ko po unang-una para sa Council for the Welfare of Children, si Yusek Angelo Tapales. At pagkatapos nila ang ating resource persons mula sa NACC. So Yusek Tapales, you have the floor, sir.
Good morning, Madam Chair, honorable members of the committee and other resource persons. At the Council for the Welfare of Children, needless to say, we commend the committee's proposed legislative measure which seeks to promote the protection of children from all forms of physical or mental violence, abuse, and neglect as a form of discipline while in the care of parents, legal guardians, or any other person who exercise substitute or special parental authority and responsibility over the child. The CWC has been advocating and calling for the passage of a bill that would address the issue of the continuous practice of corporal punishment as a means of disciplining since 2003. This has been a part of our annual legislative agenda for children. The CWC, in coordination with partner national agencies and civil society organizations, have conducted various children's consultations, and these consultations invariably show that children still continue to experience the use of physical, humiliating, or degrading acts as a form of punishment at home and especially in schools. Excuse me. They have recommended the passage of a law that will protect them from these forms of violence. Or post to sexual abuse. In the home, Madam Chair, sad to say, based on the national baseline study, fathers and mothers were the usual perpetrators of physical violence. Mothers commonly inflicted milder forms of corporal punishment, but fathers were the usual perpetrators of severe physical violence, including those needing medical treatment. The most common forms of physical maltreatment were hitting or spanking with the hand or stick, pulling hair, pinching, pushing, grabbing, or twisting of ears, and being slapped on the face, kicked, hit, or beaten with a belt or other hard object. About 3.8% of the respondents were threatened and harmed with a knife or gun, drowned, burned, scalded, and received physical harm or injury requiring hospitalization. This is not confined in our homes, Madam Chair. In the schools, the respondents told the research team that teachers would usually hit them with erasers or chalk, twisting their ears or pinching. So those are the common forms of violence in the school. Violence against children, Madam Chair, will continue to be a problem in our country if our mentality or outlook towards inflicting physical, psychological harm to our own children does not change. In the Philippines, Madam Chair, sad to say, incidents inside the family, including interpersonal and domestic violence, are considered private affairs. Hence, Filipino families keep these events secret to avoid damaging the family's reputation. The factors associated with violence against the Filipino children may be structural, community-based, organizational, interpersonal, and personal. One of these factors is social norms, Madam Chair, which includes a belief about the use of corporal punishment to mold the values and character of the child. So, as mentioned by the Honorable Chair, violence against children has also been shown to be a public health issue. Early childhood exposure to violence can affect their brain development, includes the child's susceptibility to various mental and physical health problems that can span into adulthood. One local study even pointed out that adverse experiences during childhood are directly related to health risk behaviors such as smoking, alcoholism, drug abuse, sexual promiscuity, and chronic diseases in later life. That's why, Madam Chair, we think in the Council for the Welfare of Children, Senate Bill number 2036 is a big leap in the right direction because while we know that there are penal laws already existing, there is no single penal law addressing violence committed on children starting from the homes, the schools, and other places or institutions. That's why the CWC fully supports the enactment of this bill. In particular, we fully support the declaration of policy. We will be, when we submit our detailed position paper, Madam Chair, we will respectfully recommend some revisions in the defined terms or in the definition of terms, particularly in the definition of foster parent. We will introduce a term, a new term, or which is parent substitute in place of guardians. Parent substitute would refer to a person other than the biological parent who has custody over the child and is primarily responsible for his or her care and physical, moral, and intellectual development, such as foster care parents, legal guardians, and care providers. We will also introduce the term surrogate parent, of course, for the consideration of the Honorable Committee and the esteemed author, as a replacement for persons legally responsible for the child. A surrogate parent refers to any adult member of the family or extended family or a caregiver who chose to act as a substitute parent to a child, not legally under his or her parental authority or care. Madam Chair, we appreciate that under item G of section 3, physical, humiliating, and degrading acts have been defined, but we would also respectfully suggest that there should be a clear definition of what constitutes humiliating and degrading acts, or perhaps provide some examples which the IRR committee can expound on during the drafting of the IRR, so as to guide the members of the implementing rules and committee, regulations committee, because as we have this legal maxim in law, the spring may not rise higher than the source. So I think it would be it could guide the implementing rules and regulations committee on what to include on those particular acts constituting cruel and degrading punishments. Madam Chair, we laud the development or the suggestion for the development of a comprehensive program to promote positive parenting. The CWC is more than willing to lead, to co-lead, or to cooperate in any way that we can, so as to make this objective a reality. As to Section 6, as regards reporting physical, humiliating, and degrading acts in the form of child punishment, while we agree with the procedure laid down under the proposed bill, but the CWC also recommends that the bill take into consideration the existing protocol for case management of child victims of abuse, neglect, and exploitation developed by the Committee for the Special Protection of Children, chaired by the Department of Justice, as it already provides the algorithm for reporting cases involving children. And the said protocol also defined where reports can be made, Madam Chair, including the barangay, the punong barangay mentioned in the Senate bill. Currently, this protocol for case management of child victims is used widely by service providers on cases under Republic Act number 7610. So again, Madam Chair, we thank you for inviting us, and we undertake to submit a more detailed position paper, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusek Tapales, for that already very substantive and detailed presentation. Naabangan po namin yung mas detailed pa na position paper. The committee thanks the council for the commendation. Pasensya na, dalawang dekada na itong legislative agenda niyo. Yung mga bata noon ay baka mga young parents na ngayon. Pero sige, alang-alang sa mga henerasyong iyon, hari nawa maipasa na natin ito at hindi na ma-veto. Thank you for that good news about the September 2022 dialogue. Any international support para sa ating mga national legislative initiatives mula halimbawa ngayon sa UN Committee on the Rights of the Child is welcome. At salamat sa mga important references you made sa UNCRC, sa UDHR, PD 603, of course, RA 7610. At maraming salamat dun sa sinabi nyo nga na positive parenting or the opposite of it are actually public health issues. So yun din po siguro yung isang susi natin para palitan yung ating pananaw at ugali na physical and degrading punishment or cruel and degrading punishment of children in the case of this bill ay private matter lang dahil it is of public concern. So sa ganung paraan, mai-nudge dapat natin into the light of public concern and action. So muli maraming salamat sa full support ng council. And well noted yung mga sinimulan yung sinabing mga rekomendasyon na gagawin nyo in terms of improving the definition of terms, providing examples bilang gabay na rin nga sa IRR formulating process. Later on, the committee welcomes the volunteering of the council to lead, co-lead, or cooperate in developing those modules and processes para sa pagsasanay nating mga magulang dito sa positive parenting. And thank you very much also. Maybe we'll hear from the DOJ resource person about this last point later on, yung paalala nyo to consider the existing protocols of the DOJ. In that the pertinent part of this bill. So maraming salamat po, Yusek Tapales. Ngayon, pakinggan po natin mula sa National Authority on Child Care, no other than Yusek Janela Ejercito Estrada. You have the floor.
Thank you po, Madam Chair. First of all, thank you for having us. Good morning po to everyone, Senator Hontiveros. The National Authority for Child Care, or NACC, being the central and competent authority on alternative child care, fully supports Senate Bill number 2036. Of course, we thank the author, Senator Risa Hontiveros, for her sponsorship. Napakagandang bill po nito, ma'am. Maraming salamat po. And at the onset, we all agree on the sole intent of the bill, the need for government to provide a comprehensive program on the promotion of positive parenting through an interagency operability. We value the importance of creating a culture where children are free from abuse at the hands of their parents, guardians, or custodians, as we have sadly seen the detrimental long-term effects it has on children. Unfortunately po, a number of children in our facilities have experienced some sort of abuse, and its effects linger long after they have been rescued or removed from the abusive adult. So what SBN 2036 seeks is a proactive approach and a developmental intervention to avoid abuse of children and curb its adverse effects on their development as a healthy and productive citizen, while taking into consideration the parental authority of a parent to discipline his or her child within the bounds of the child's rights. In addition po, with the ongoing IRR crafting of RA 11908, or the Parent Effectiveness Service Program Act, SBN 2036 can then amplify the intent of PES by integrating its learning and development tools in various government programs, especially in child welfare and protection. For alternative childcare po, NACC with the DSWD as mother agency can integrate positive parenting in its current programs and functions as follows. 1. Our child caring agencies, or CCAs, child placement agencies, or CPAs, and residential care facilities, or RCFs. At present po, accreditation and supervisions of CCAs, CPAs, and RCFs, and other social welfare and development agencies is a function po of the DSWD, while NACC facilitates administrative adoption. So through DSWD, positive parenting may be integrated in the accreditation, supervision, and capacity building of these institutions. Second, administrative adoption and post-entrustment. Through the implementation of RA 11642, or the Domestic Administrative Adoption and Alternative Child Care Act, NACC can promote the developmental effects of positive parenting during trainings and post-entrustment, through which NACC supervises adoptive placement. NACC is developing a module for prospective adoptive parents, or our PAPs, to provide trainings in the different phases of adoption to ensure that PAPs are prepared to adopt a child. Third po is the foster care subsidy program. Currently po ito po ay na-transfer na po from DSWD to NACC. So NACC subsidizes foster children under the care of foster parents. NACC can promote positive parenting during trainings of foster parents, which can be later on tied with a set of requirements and standards for for the accreditation by DSWD and evaluation of foster parents. Fourth po, capacity building of the NACC organizational structure, including our regional alternative childcare offices, or what we call RACOs. As a newly established agency, we continue to invest the learning and development of our human resource. We will then incorporate the principles and concepts of positive parenting in the NACC Learning and Development Program and make use of the education and information dissemination materials to be crafted through this proposed measure and the PES program. And last po, fifth, interagency interoperability. We also believe that the promotion of positive parenting is a viable point of convergence with other relevant government agencies, most especially the Department of Interior and Local Government. Actually po, we have been proposing for the designation of specialized social worker on alternative childcare at the local social welfare development offices para po mas mapadali po yung mga proseso po namin. Madam Chair, may we also take this opportunity to present a few points on Section 4, development of a comprehensive program to promote positive parenting through which we feel that NACC can efficiently and effectively exercise its mandate and functions to advance the promotion of positive parenting through psychosocial support both for the child and the parent, either biological or legal guardians. Tatlo lang po to. First po, may we suggest that select civil society organizations and other non-government organizations engaged in child welfare and protection be represented in this proposed interagency cooperation. And second, the NACC also requests its participation in the capacity building programs for barangay personnel, service providers, and if we may add, the local social welfare development offices. Both barangay help desk centers and LSWDOs are our frontliners in child welfare and child protection. And lastly, to include a provision for the engagement of psychologists who will provide therapy and counseling to children assessed as victims of physical and degrading effects of physical punishment or discipline. So with the foregoing, the NACC looks forward po to the enactment of SBN 2036, and we are more than happy to participate in the crafting of its IRR towards the effective implementation of this proposed reform. For technical comments po on the bill, we will include them in our position paper. Maraming salamat po, Madam Chair.
Maraming salamat sa inyo, Yusek Janela, at sa buong authority no, ng NACC. Una-una na rin for when mentioning na kasalukuyan yung dinadraft yung IRRs nung Parent Effectiveness Law na naging co-author din ako kay Sen Sherwin, this current bill can actually function as a companion measure dahil mas pinapalawig niya yung aspeto nga ng positive parenting in terms of replacing physical and degrading punishment, at may aspeto din itong kasalukuyang panukalang batas, the rehabilitative measures that parents or guardians or other responsible adults who are currently using those physical or degrading punishments can undergo so as to reorient and be trained in positive parenting. So maraming salamat for that, yung complementarity nung isang batas at itong panukalang batas in our policy framework. And maraming salamat din for the no less than 4 points through which you said, Yusek, na nakikita na ng NACC na pwede ninyong within exercising your own mandate, ipatupad na yung mga aspeto nitong panukalang batas in terms of promoting effective parenting through your trainings. You said you're currently developing modules for parents to undertake. Yung pag-integrate nitong aspeto ng positive parenting sa inyong foster care subsidy program hanggang pa sa capacity building ng human resources ninyo, and pati in partnership with DILG and other departments, yung interagency interoperability ninyo. napakahalaga po ng pagbanggit nyo sa DILG kasi nga yung partisipasyon din ng mga local social welfare and development officers. Well noted din po yung mga points nyo for Section 4. Salamat. This is maybe one of the rare times that it's a government agency who will say CSO should be represented in a certain body. So, and very welcome. Tapos, yung pag-volunteer ng authority for NACC to be represented sa capacity building programs for the local implementors. And well noted din yung mungkahin nyo within Section 4, yung pag-engage ng psychologists to achieve the objectives of the bill. At maraming salamat, last but not the least, yung pag-volunteer ng authority to participate in crafting the IRRs of this bill. Kapag hari nawa, yung pag-volunteer nyo for the IRRs gives me hope na maipapasa po natin ito ulit at maipapatupad na nga. So thank you very much, Yusek Janela. Okay, so now balikan po natin ulit yung DBM. Will it be Attorney Borja or Ms. Mary Grace to speak on this bill? DBM, online po ba kayo? Yes. So, sorry, Mary Grace with a double R. So you have the floor, ma'am.
Yes po, good morning po Madam Chair and to those attending this meeting. Thank you for inviting the DBM to this meeting. On Senate Bill number 2036, in as much as the proposed functions of the agencies concerned are within their respective mandates, we interpose no objection to the proposed legislative measure. While on the funding provision, the same is consistent with the usual appropriations language. However, for LGUs, we recommend to use the phrase local funds of the LGU concerned. To make the sentence generic, since local funds already consist of the National Tax Allotment or NTA, locally generated revenues and other receipts from other sources po. That will be all for now, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Maraming salamat, Ms. Mary Grace. Magsasubmit pa ba kayo ng position paper or will you be subjecting this bill to further discussion within your department? Or ito na po yun, yung maraming salamat una-una na sa pag-interpose ng walang objection and then paalala nyo sa komite na dapat lamang consistent with the appropriation language and then particular dun sa tamang appropriation language din siguro vis-a-vis the LGUs in relation to local funds tapos yung IRA at yung NTA nila. Meron pa po bang padadala ang department sa komite?
For now po, we will submit a position paper po once it's approved from the department secretary po.
All right. Maraming salamat muli para doon, Ms. Mary Grace.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, ma'am. So let's hear now from the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Council, JJWC. Si Attorney Trisha ba or si Ms. Esmeralda? All right. So I see Ms. Esmeralda Distor online. You have the floor, ma'am.
The Juvenile Justice and Welfare Council extends its gratitude for including the JJWC in the discussions of SB 2026. We express our strong support to the Positive Parenting Bill and notes the inclusion of the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Council as part of the agencies which will develop a comprehensive program to promote positive parenting. We also laud the inclusion of restorative justice in promoting positive parenting. The JJWC would also be glad to take part in the development of implementing guidelines, rules, and regulations after the bill becomes a Republic Act. We will submit an official position paper on the Senate bill with the indulgence of the committee. Thank you po, Senator.
Thank you rin po sa inyo, Ms. Esmeralda, at sa suporta ng council. Abangan po namin any submission that you will make to the committee. Salamat po dun sa pag-cite nung consistency nung diwa, nung spirito nitong panukalang batas dun sa buong advocacy natin ng restorative justice and juvenile justice as well. At this point, kahit hindi sila pumasok sa hearing proper at kailangan ng pumunta sa ibang trabaho, maraming salamat sa presensya ni Senador Jinggoy Estrada. Hindi ko sasabihin anak nila ang ating resource person, sila ang ama ng ating resource person, si Yusek Janela. Thank you so much po, kasama. Alright. Okay. So, ngayon po, pakinggan po natin mula sa Commission on Higher Education, si Dr. Carolyn ba or si Dr. Maria ang magsasalita? Dito po ba ang CHED?
Hello,
Dahil
good afternoon. Can
Yes,
you hear
ma'am.
me?
I
Okay,
can hear
sorry.
you. We can hear you po. Yes,
Okay.
Dr. Carol, please proceed, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting us to participate in this hearing. On behalf of the Commission on Higher Education, I chair the technical panel. We fully support Senator Risa Hontiveros, this very timely and very relevant bill on positive parenting. Allow me, in accordance, of course, with CEDAW, the SDG, and all the international laws, and in harmony with all the laws we have now, violence against women and children law. Let me just reiterate the commitment of CHED. Once the law is passed, we will submit our position paper right away. We will conduct a hearing because it's very important that we are grounded in terms of the challenges faced by our students in the context of this degrading punishment, parental authority. We have so many guidelines already. We can follow as model, for instance, the guidelines of the University of the Philippines, where teachers are responsible, the duties and accountabilities of guidance counselors. We will once the law is passed, we commit to come up with a CMO, and we will run a session around which the guidance counselors, the teachers, the principals, the deans of colleges will have their respective responsibility. We will submit our position paper in due time so that we can contribute to the implementation of this law. Thank you very much, Senator Risa Hontiveros.
Thank you very much also, Dr. Carol. Very nice to see you po. And abangan po namin yung position paper na isusumite nyo sa komite. Maraming salamat sa full support ng commission sa panukalang batas na ito. And thank you also for bringing our attention to the current guidelines of the University of the Philippines na pwede rin pag-aralan hanggang pa sa technical working group. So thank you very much po. Ngayon, pakinggan po natin ang Department of Education, Ms. Cecil Anyayahan. Yes, ma'am, you have the floor. Good morning po.
Senator. Yes, so the Department of Education fully support this bill. In fact po, the department has been implementing positive discipline in schools in partnership with Save the Children Philippines. Some of our schools division offices have been trained on positive. Some of our schools division offices have been in partnership with Save the Children Philippines, trained on positive discipline. As of now, the Learners' Rights and Protection Office, in partnership with the Bureau of Learning Delivery, has developed our own learning action cells, session guides on positive discipline for teachers. So the LAC session guides for teachers is ready for pilot testing this year. The department po will submit our position paper, the full position paper within the week. Thank you.
Thank you also, Ms. Cecil, also for sharing the good news na iniimplementa na ng DepEd yung positive parenting or positive discipline in partnership sa Save the Children, at meron na kayong mga modules ng Bureau of Learning, sorry, I didn't catch the last, BLD, no, na i-subject for testing na. Aabangan po ng komite yung inyong position paper. Pakisama po itong mga best practices o mga models na dinedevelop o iniimplementa na ng department, para baka pwedeng isama bilang mga halimbawa, no, dito sa ating panukalang batas. So salamat po muli, Ms. Cecil.
Thank you rin
Alright.
po.
Thanks, ma'am. Pakinggan po natin ngayon mula sa Department of Health, muli, Ms. Diane Fernandez.
Si Dr.
Okay, my mistake, no? For DOH, on this second bill, pakinggan po natin si Dr. Noel Ballesteros. Dr. Ballesteros, online po ba kayo?
Hi po, good afternoon.
Yes, ma'am.
Opo, good afternoon. Dr. Rochelle Pambid po from the Department of Health.
Dr.
Rochelle Pambid po.
Dr. Rochelle Pambid. All right, ma'am,
Yes
you
po.
have the floor.
Yes po, on behalf of Dr. Noel Ballesteros, for all the comments, suggestions, and recommendations of the Department of Health, we are just waiting for the final position paper, and then once finalized and signed, we will just forward po the position paper para po sa Department of Health.
Alright, Dr. Rochelle, salamat po. Rochelle, sorry,
Salamat po.
Dr.
Yes
Rochelle.
po.
Salamat po. Abangan po namin yung position paper na iyan.
Apo, definitely po.
Salamat po.
Thank you po.
And now we will hear from the Department of Justice. Let me make sure I call the right name. Yes. Si Asek Maiken or Majken, Anika Granong, or Attorney Lourdes Mendoza. Sino pong magsasalita? Yes, ma'am. I see Asek Anika. Yes, ma'am. You have the floor.
Yes. Good morning, Madam Chairperson and the members of the Honorable Committee. We express our sincere gratitude for inviting the Department of Justice in the discussion on the Senate bill promoting positive parenting in all settings. The department, as the government's prosecution arm and administrator of the criminal justice system, and as the chairperson of the Committee for the Special Protection of Children, which is the body primarily responsible in coordinating and monitoring the investigation and prosecution of cases involving violations of Republic Act number 7610 and other child-related criminal laws, fully support this measure that seeks to protect children from all forms of neglect, abuse, cruelty, exploitation, discrimination, and other conditions prejudicial to their development. We also thank the committee for including the department in the development of the comprehensive program to promote positive parenting, as mentioned under Section 4 of the Senate bill. The department will be submitting its position paper, Madam Chairman, on the subject Senate bill. Nevertheless, as a preliminary comment, we find that the subject bill is in accordance with the Constitution and our state policies. We respectfully recommend that the bill, especially Section 6 and 7, on the reporting physical, humiliating, and degrading acts as a form of punishment of a child and interventions respectively, be aligned with the provisions and procedures laid down with RA 9262 or the Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act and RA 7610 or the Special Protection of Children Against Abuse, Exploitation, and Discrimination Act. As regards, Madam Chairman, and the honorable members of the committee, on the recommendation to include the existing mechanisms of the CSPC in the bill, we thank the Council for the Welfare of Children and its indefatigable executive director for said support and recommendation. For the information of the committee, Madam Chairman, the CSPC has developed a protocol for the case management of child victims of abuse, neglect, and exploitation. This protocol is a set of standards to ensure the protection of the rights of child victims of abuse, neglect, and exploitation. It highlights the roles and responsibilities of government agencies, including the DSWD, prosecutors, and other law enforcement agencies, from reporting or referral of a child abuse case until its termination, in ensuring that child victims are dealt with in a sensitive and appropriate manner. The protocol was issued in 2013, and the CSPC, Madam Chairman, will be updating and improving this protocol in order to address the developments in child-related laws and policies in the past 10 years. Thank you, Madam Chair and the committee.
Thank you also, Attorney Asek Anika, for the department's full support. Abangan din po namin yung position paper. Maraming salamat dun sa statement ng department that the bill is in accordance with our constitution. So, di po kami mangangamba sa isang kaso sa Korte Suprema tungkol dito. Well noted yung points ninyo about aligning, making sure that Section 6 and 7 are aligned both with the Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Law, saka yung Special Protection of Children Law. At nakakatuwa pong marinig yung words ninyo sa Council for the Welfare of Children. Hindi lang sweet, pero nakakatuwa po talaga yung ganyang klaseng affirmation ng mga government agencies sa isa't isa. And yes, earlier, one of our other resource persons actually mentioned yung protocols ng Department of Justice na dapat mindful ang committee dyan in finalizing the bill. So isang dekada na pala yung protocols nyo. So maganda na at this point you are again reviewing them, possibly upgrading and further improving them alang-alang sa ating mga bata. So maraming salamat po muli, Asek Anika.
Thank you po, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And now we will hear from the Department of Labor and Employment, Ms. Dayan Alavado.
Thank you. Good morning po, Madam Chairperson, Senator Hontiveros, and members of this honorable committee, as well as the other stakeholders present in this meeting. We would like to express our appreciation to this honorable committee for inviting the Department of Labor and Employment. And with the permission of this committee, we will be submitting our official position paper later after this meeting once we have finalized our comments on Senate Bill number 2036. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Madam Chair, and for the rest of the committee.
Maraming salamat din po, Ms. Dayan. Abangan po namin yung position paper ng department. Ngayon, pakinggan po natin yung Philippine Information Agency, si Ms. Marie Abrenica.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Yes, good morning, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Ansel, not Marie.
Yeah, ma'am, my full name is Mary Ansel. Sorry po, apologies.
Okay, ma'am, you have the floor.
Yes, ma'am. We thank the chairperson, Ms. Honorable Committee, for the opportunity to take part and share our agency's position on Senate Bill number 2036. On behalf of PIA, we welcome and fully support this legislative measure. We at PIA are committed to give our all-out support in all government-initiated efforts to reduce and, if possible, to end all forms of violence against children. The PIA acknowledges the merits of the subject as consistent with existing principles, laws, and policies that we have right now. Madam, based on data from the World Health Organization, child maltreatment is a global problem with serious lifelong consequences. The WHO also revealed that globally, around 60% of children ages 2 to 14 years regularly suffer physical punishment from their parents and other caregivers. Here in the Philippines, the Council on the Welfare of Children reported that in 2022 alone, they have recorded a total of 8,948 child abuse cases. In a study, we researched entitled Social-Cultural Perspectives of Child Discipline and Child Abuse in the Philippines and was published in Acta Medica Filipina, the National Health Science Journal of the University of the Philippines, they found out that there is an adequate understanding about child discipline among the respondents. However, the researchers concluded that despite having an adequate understanding on the purpose and intent of child discipline, there is still a need to educate parents and local leaders about the harmful effects of disciplinary acts like corporal punishment. In a separate study entitled Child Maltreatment Prevention in the Philippines, the researchers emphasized that information dissemination on the child protection laws, policies including the National Action Plan for Children, should be done nationwide with special attention given to local leaders. With the above mentioned data, Madam, the PIA deemed it important for this chamber to enact appropriate legislative measures to protect the welfare of our children. In Section 10 of your bill, you specifically tasked the PIA to devise and implement an information campaign or program for popularizing the use of positive parenting of children nationwide together with the CWC. Our agency poses no objection regarding this specific provision in the bill. As the premier development communications arm of the Philippines, we will always be ready to render expertise and to be at the forefront of devising effective information, education, and communication campaigns for the promotion of positive parenting and for the protection of children. We assure the STEM committee that once this bill is passed into law, the PAL will use its massive information and communication platforms in partnership with different stakeholders to support other government instrumentalities in fulfilling their mandates under the proposed legislative measure. We will be submitting Madam Chair Agency's position paper once finalized and signed by our Director General. Again, thank you for the opportunity to take part.
Thank you also, Ms. Ansel, at sa fact na nag-propose ng walang objection ang agency. Salamat din sa pagbanggit sa National Action Plan for Children. So, an important reference for your agency and for the committee as well in considering this bill. Nakakatuwa rin yung binanggit yung ongoing partnership nyo kaugnay nito sa Council for the Welfare of Children. Laging mabuti para sa amin sa legislator kapag yung mga ahensya sa executive ay may ganitong maraming partnerships for our common objectives. At abangan po namin ang position paper ng inyong agency. Salamat po muli, Ms. Ansel. And now, pakinggan po natin. Sandali. So now may we call on the TESDA through Ms. Beverly Bayonisto. Ms. Beverly, online ba kayo? Ms. Beverly? Balikan po natin si Ms. Beverly mamaya. Tawagin ko na po muna mula sa PNP, Women and Child Protection Center, Police Colonel Portia Manalad. Yes, ma'am. Police Colonel Manalad, you have the floor po.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon po, ma'am.
Good afternoon po.
Police Colonel Manalad. I am Police Colonel Mary Grace Madayag, the Chief Operations Management Division of the WCPC. With me here is the Chief of Abao CD, Police Colonel Maricel Barges-Smith, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Police
Good
Colonel
afternoon,
Madaya.
ma'am,
Please
to
proceed.
our distinguished senators. We would like to express our gratitude for inviting us in this public hearing. We laud our good chairperson, Senator Risa Hontiveros, for Senate Bill number 2036, which promotes positive parenting. Parents are primarily responsible in rearing and nurturing their children. Parents have the right to discipline their children as may be necessary for the formation of their good character and may therefore require from them obedience to just and reasonable rules, suggestions, and admonitions. Physical and humiliating punishment of children remains to be a common practice in disciplining children, in which the PNP would want to be or is always a part of implementing the rules against these acts. The bill seeks to develop a comprehensive program to encourage positive parenting in diverse settings and provide psychological support for both the parent and the child to foster healthier family relations. It does not specifically penalize physical and humiliating punishment of children as a form of discipline. The bill maintains the right of the parent to discipline their children while taking into account the child's integrity and dignity. In this regard, we would like to convey our support to the said bill, and the official position paper duly approved and signed by the Chief PNP shall be submitted on a later date, ma'am. Thank you very much for again inviting the PNP WCPC to this forum, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Police Colonel Madayag. At maraming salamat po sa suporta ng ating National Police sa panukalang batas at aabangan po namin yung position paper. Thank you so much. And now, at this point, pakinggan naman po natin mula sa National Privacy Commission, si Attorney Vida Bocar. Yes, ma'am, you have the floor.
Madam Chairperson and members of the committee. On behalf of the National Privacy Commission, we support the pending bill regarding the positive parenting, and we acknowledge and we will support in the development of the centralized database as mentioned in Section 9. We will also be submitting our position paper once it is finalized. As a highlight, we recommend inserting lang po a provision on the inclusion of security measures, particularly as mentioned in the Data Privacy Act, organizational, technological, and physical measures to ensure the confidentiality and the right to data privacy of the children, as well as those that will be intervening on behalf of those that will be reported or the incidents reported and will be form part of the database, Madam Chair. So we will submit within the week or once it is finalized, and that's all for now on behalf of the National Privacy Commission. Thank you po.
Thank you, Ms. Vida, para sa suporta ng Commission sa ating bill. And noted po yung pagbanggit nyo sa section, hindi ko na mabasa yung handwriting ko sa number na, section 6 po ba ito?
Section 9 po,
so
Madam
sorry,
Chair.
thank you. Section 9 on the centralized database. And in particular, I guess also that the bill should include data security measures. So, hahanguin po namin dun sa position paper na isa-submit ninyo. Maraming salamat muli, Ms. Vida. And now let's hear from the National Youth Commission, Ms. Rina Pineda.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The National Youth Commission will be submitting our official position paper, but for now, Madam Chair, allow me to read our general position. The National Youth Commission applauds the legislative initiatives that seek to safeguard children's rights and youth's rights. Although this legislation is mainly directed toward children, similar measures like this will provide the government the opportunity to look into other ways of providing children and youth a safe environment while promoting a nurturing environment. We also highlight and note that the Philippine Youth Development Plan, or our PYDP, strongly supports the youth's participation in a peaceful and just society that affords them with equal and equitable opportunities, social security, and protection in all aspects of development, regardless of their disability, ethnicity, gender, religion, specific needs, social, cultural, economic status, and political beliefs. So initiatives like this will not only help the children and youth, as well as the parents, to participate in providing a safe environment for their children. So, Madam Chair, the NYC is in support of legislation that will enable more children and youth to realize their full potential. And they can realize their life objectives and desires if they live in a safe environment and receive good parenting from their parents. Long term, this legislation may also enhance the lives of children and youth who may then go on to contribute to the progress of of the country. So that is the general position of the National Youth Commission, Madam Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much also, Ms. Rina. It's always great to hear from arguably the most important stakeholder in such bills, children and youth yourselves. So abangan po namin yung position paper ng inyong commission. And salamat din sa pagbanggit sa Philippine Youth Development Plan as an important reference for the commission and therefore also for the committee in considering this bill. So muli, salamat. Nandito na po ba si Ms. Beverly Bayonisto para sa TESDA?
Good afternoon po, Madam Chair.
Ay, yes, ma'am. Okay, you have the floor po.
Apologies po for my voice, pero may I recognize po my colleague, Ma'am Mylene Herrera po to present TESDA's position on this noble initiative measure po, Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am. Sino pong colleague nyo?
Ma'am Mylene Herrera po, ma'am.
Sino po?
Mylene Herrera po.
Ms. Mylene Herrera. All right.
Yes
Ms.
po.
Mylene,
Thank
you
po,
have the floor
Madam
for
Chair.
TESDA. Salamat, Ms. Beverly. Ms. Mylene? Ms. Beverly, online ba si Ms. Mylene?
Yes po, Madam Chair. Naka-join po siya, ma'am.
All right. Ms. Mylene, andito na po ba kayo? Naka-mute daw kayo, Ms. Mylene. Paki-unmute. Ms. Mylene, nakikita namin kayo online. Pwede ba kayong mag-unmute at magsalita na para sa TESDA? Sige, balikan na lang po natin ang TESDA mamaya so that we can go on to hear our CSOs and academe. So, unang-una na, para sa PLCPD at saka Child Rights Network. Si Sir Rom Donggeto ba o si Ms. Angelica? Okay, Ms. Angie, you have the floor.
Yes, good afternoon, Sen, and happy Mother's Day. The Child
Happy
Rights
Mother's Day.
Network commends the author of SB 2036, Senator Hontiveros, for steadfastly ensuring that children grow in an environment of love and that mechanisms are in place to institutionalize promotion of positive discipline. A little backstory: when I started at PLCPD po, the convener of CRN back in 2010, positive parenting was my first advocacy campaign. So this is really very close to my heart. And when I became a parent in 2013, I considered myself lucky that I learned about nonviolent forms of discipline with the help of colleagues from NGOs such as Save the Children and of course CWC. And I was able to apply these in parenting a child on the autism spectrum. And it is our fervent wish that more parents and their children will also get to practice positive discipline or positive parenting through the enactment of SB 2036. And we have 4 points justifying our full support for this measure. Number 1 is addressing the prevalence of physical, humiliating, and degrading forms of punishment. I will no longer be expounding on this area as this has been discussed at length earlier, but we would like to emphasize that physical, humiliating, and degrading forms of punishment has been a long-held intergenerational practice which has proven negative impacts on children. And these forms of punishment were used partly due to lack of options to instill discipline in children. In a 2011 survey po of Pulse Asia, 41% of parents said they will support stopping the use of physical, humiliating, and degrading punishment. And there is willingness to use non-violent forms of discipline. And this measure will enable the state to provide non-violent options for parents, guardians, and other child carers to discipline the child by promoting positive discipline, which has beneficial impacts on children, including instilling love for self, parents and others, self-importance, and improved socialization skills and self-control. Second, it fulfills commitments to institutionalize positive and nonviolent means to discipline children, as expounded in Section 2 or Declaration of State. We recognize here and recognizes that eliminating and responding to violence against children is most challenging, perhaps in the context of the family, which many consider as a private sphere. But violence against children frequently takes place in the context of discipline and takes the form of physical, cruel, or humiliating punishment. And we believe that children's rights to life, survival, development, dignity, and physical integrity do not stop at the door of the family home, nor does the state's obligations to ensure that these rights for children are enshrined. Third, we commend setting up of institutional mechanisms to promote positive parenting in all settings, and how the proposed bill, provides capacity building opportunities for implementers of the measure at the local level. And the measure takes into consideration that positive parenting may be a new concept for some, making this a barrier for acceptability. So we commend that the measure designates the SWD and CWC, and in consultation with NGOs, to provide techniques or practical pointers on how positive parenting can be utilized. And lastly, the measure answers the call of children and young people to promote or to experience positive parenting. In several consultations led by CRN members, as stated earlier by colleagues from CWC, children and young people reiterated the call for the passage of a measure that will protect children from violence in all settings. And this is among the children's legislative agenda for the 19th Congress, handed over to our respected legislators during the National Children's Month commemoration in 2023. And to quote a child from Valenzuela, she said, "We should end the belief that they do it for us because they love us. Because if it hurts, it is not love." Love does not hurt, and there are a lot of ways to discipline a child, and hurting them is not a solution. And in view of meaningful child participation, CRN humbly recommends that in Section 12, Madam Chair, under periodic review, if we can add the participation of children and young people in the evaluation of the law's implementation. Looking forward that of its enactment very soon. And we recommend to add, if possible, two representatives from children and youth organizations to be included. And considering the above stated reasons, Madam Chair, CRN reiterates its full support for the bill promoting positive parenting in all settings. And we humbly volunteer to participate in all technical working groups, and looking forward the development of its implementing rules and regulations. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat din po, Miss Angie, for the commendation and the full support of CRN and PLCPD to the committee on this bill. Nakakatuwa ring marinig sa inyo na first advocacy nyo ito noon, kasi kami rin po ng late husband ko, talagang nagdesisyon kami noon na wag gumamit ng corporal punishment sa aming 4 na anak. At kahit nung pre-verbal pa sila, sa facial expression namin, sa tono ng boses, sa body language, hanggang sa marunong na silang magsalita at natututong mga tuwiran. So sinupilit namin idinaan sa pangangatwiran para makapag-develop sila ng self-discipline nila. Thank you for pointing out that in 2011, a full dozen years ago, 41% na ng mga magulang surveyed sumuporta sa ganitong konsepto, no, sa survey ng Pulse Asia. Siguro sa higit isang dekadang dumaan ay lumaki na yung percentage na yon. Baka majority na tayo ng mga magulang na sumusuporta sa ganito. Thank you for pointing out the grounds for CRN's full support for the bill. The bill addresses the prevalence of the physical and degrading punishment. It will institutionalize positive parenting, particular sa Section 2. It will set up institutional mechanisms, and siguro yung pinaka nakakaantig, it answers the call of children and youth themselves. Baka yung mga nakarinig dito ng if it hurts, it is not love, may iba pang naisip na sana all na context, totoo yan. And thank you also for highlighting Section 12 on the periodic review. I think very well taken yung rekomendasyon ninyo to add the participation of children themselves in that section by adding two representatives from children. At sa huli, maraming salamat sa pag-volunteer ninyo na lumahok dun sa technical working group at hari nawa talaga muli no pag-craft ng IRR. So thank you very much, Miss Angie. Okay, ngayon mula sa Save the Children, na binanggit din ng ibang mga resource persons natin kahit mula sa gobyerno, na kapartner na nila, Ms. Wilma Banyaga. Yes ma'am, you have the floor. Sorry, Banaga, not Enye.
It's Enye,
Enye,
actually,
it just
Madam
doesn't
Chair.
show in
Yes.
the text here. Okay, Ms. Wilma, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and magandang hapon po sa lahat. Save the Children Philippines, a child rights-based organization that's been working in the country for 42 years, welcomes and fully supports the proposed Positive Parenting of Children Act. We believe that this will help Filipino parents in learning ways of parenting children that are more in line with what we know about healthy child development and effective parenting, and that is also respectful of the rights of children, particularly their right to live a life free from all forms of violence, including physical and humiliating or degrading forms of punishment. Such punishments violate children's fundamental rights to physical integrity and human dignity and is inconsistent with the Convention on the Rights of the Child, which protects children from all forms of physical or mental violence, injury or abuse, neglect or negligent treatment, maltreatment or exploitation, as well as cruel and degrading forms of punishment. Save the Children believes that there is a more effective way of disciplining children, and that is through a positive and nonviolent approach that respects children and supports their learning through affection, care, and guidance. Disciplining children is, of course, important. And even the children that we have talked to over the years on this issue have said so. But they also said that physical and humiliating punishments hurt them, and that hurt them outside, meaning physically, and inside, emotionally. And that they wish that their parents can discipline them without having to resort to hurting them. In the many years that Save the Children has been working with parents, no, we have seen their need for and their interest in learning ways of disciplining that and child rearing that does not resort to aggressive or violent means. And Senate Bill 2036 will address this. However, Madam Chair, we would like to take this opportunity as well to particularly raise the need to specify the need to provide parenting support to the parents of the some of the most marginalized groups of children. For example, such as the parents of children with disabilities and the parents of children with diverse SOGI, because there is not much parenting support that is provided to them that would help them um, address or learn how to address or deal with the particular needs of their children. Positive parenting works because it promotes better child development and well-being, better academic performance, and better family relationships. And there are several researches from the Philippines and from other countries that support this. We'll provide more information on this and the citations, Madam Chair, in the position paper that we will be submitting to the committee. Apart from supporting the provisions in the bill that institutionalizes the comprehensive education and training program on positive parenting, we also support the provision that protects children from physical, humiliating, and degrading acts as a form of punishment in all settings, including the home and family. The Committee on the Rights of the Child's concluding observations to the Philippines from the third to the sixth periodic reports have always called for the prohibition of corporal punishment and the promotion of positive parenting. In the Philippines, as mentioned earlier, while we may have an abundance of laws protecting children, there is really none that explicitly protects them from physical, humiliating, or degrading forms of punishment. The enactment of the Positive Parenting Act will be a significant contribution of the 19th Congress to the fulfillment of the Philippines' obligation as a state party to protect and fulfill children's rights to human dignity and physical integrity as enshrined in the Convention on the Rights of the Child. It is also a very concrete expression of the Philippine government's strong commitment to protect all children from all forms of violence. This will also mark a turning point in our views about children and how we can best fulfill our obligations as adults in protecting and rearing them. We hope that the honorable senators in this current Congress will support the passage of Senate Bill 2036 to help ensure a peaceful and nurturing society that will better guide and teach Filipino children. We also would like to remind our honorable senators that this is also the time to set the Philippines as the first country in Southeast Asia to legally protect children from physical and humiliating or degrading punishments in all settings, including the home. In behalf of Save the Children, Madam Chair, thank you so much for this opportunity to share our position on the bill. And thank you for your years of support to this advocacy.
Thank you so much also, Ms. Wilma, for the full support of Save the Children, not only for this bill, but well, in your past 42 years, the many laws for children that Filipino legislators have worked on. Um, I'm glad that you also mentioned that children have said that corporal punishment hurts them outside and inside. It can't be said enough. It can't be said too much. And pag naririnig po natin yan, lahat po tayo ng mga magulang, kahit papano, naantig eh. And I hope that it really pushes the 19th Congress to again pass this law, and hopefully it will receive support from the highest level of the executive. Maraming salamat for the very important point that you made, that the bill needs to provide support for parents of children with disability and for parents of children with diverse SOGI. The more specific a law, the better, para hindi rin tulad nung natutunan namin sa earlier hearing on the earlier bill about maternity benefit for women in the informal sector. Dapat no one left behind. Sabi nga ni Miss Babes kanina, walang nadi-disappear, walang nahuhulog sa cracks ng ating mga legislation. And then, salamat that you will provide more information. Abangan po namin yung inyong position paper. Thank you for citing the comments of the Committee on the Rights of the Child sa kanilang 3rd to 6th periodic reviews. And very inspiring and challenging yung sinabi nyo na if we pass this law and finally implement it, if we will actually be the first country in Southeast Asia to forswear, at least in law at first, to forswear physical and degrading punishment of children in all settings and provide a livable alternative of positive parenting, including positive discipline. So I think that's really kumbaga, a consummation devoutly to be wished. So maraming salamat muli, Ms. Wilma. Now let's hear from
Chair, excuse me.
Ma'am Babes. Ano po iyon?
Pwedeng I will go ahead kasi
Uy, of course, ma'am.
I have to attend the PSA, First Technical Working Group PSA on Informal Employment.
Wonderful. Good luck po doon.
So I will
Mabuhay
just
po kayo.
submit our submission, but the submission will focus on the intervention of the local government, the PTC,
Yes.
and along the child labor issues.
Maraming salamat po, Ms. Babes. Ingat po. All right. So now we shall hear from the Psychological Association of the Philippines. Will it be Dr. Farida or Dr. Lolina who will speak? So Dr. Farida Weatherick, you have the floor, doctor.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, and good afternoon to the members of the committee. On behalf of our president, Dr. Nino Mateo, and the Psychological Association of the Philippines, thank you so much for inviting us to this public hearing on Senate Bill number 2036, the Positive Parenting Children's Act. Thank you, Senator Hontiveros, for spearheading this bill. Although we have yet to submit our official position paper, PAP supports Senate Bill number 2036, especially as it pertains to what is for the best interest of the child. When parents and families in general receive positive support for effective parenting, this would translate to the development of healthy behavior among children, which will hopefully address their current and relevant concerns, especially in relation to their mental health and overall well being. The comprehensive program specifically arising from this bill can help parents and legal guardians to empower children to become caring and contributing members of our larger community. As mentioned already earlier by the NCAA representative, the role of the psychologist in this program is essential and may include extending professional services to children, parents, and families who would so need our assistance in capacity building, treatment, intervention, and assessment as necessary. That's all for now from the Psychological Association of the Philippines, Madam Chair and Senator Riza Hontiveros. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat.
Magandang hapon po din at maraming salamat Dr. Farida at sa inyong association. Abangan po namin yung position paper na maaaring isumite ninyo and sana na isusumite ninyo. Salamat po sa suporta ng inyong asosasyon at yung pagbigay diin ninyo no, dun sa best interest of the child principle. Sana na-note din po ng association yung binanggit kanina ni Yusek Janela, yung rekomendasyon nila, I believe it was her, no? Yung rekomendasyon nila to engage psychologists, particularly dito sa Section 4 ng bill. Maraming salamat po muli, Dr. Farida. Dr. Lolina, gusto niyo pong magsalita? Dr. Lolina, nakataas ba yung kamay niyo or hindi naman po? Alright, so mukhang hindi. Oh, you want to speak, Dr. Lolina? All right po. Usually we just have one resource person per organization, but please take a minute if you would like to add something. You can't hear us. So sorry. Sige po, tingnan namin kung may problema kami dito on our end sa aming audio. Pero kay Dr. Farida kanina hindi naman. Pa-check nyo po Dr. Lolina yung audio reception nyo dyan. Baka sa computer nyo may problema. Salamat Dr. Lolina. Okay, so let's hear now from the Ateneo de Manila University, Dr. Edith Lian Alampay. Hello, Dr. Erlian. Yes, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. Naririnig niyo po ako? Hello?
Hear you very well. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So thank you, Senator Riza Hontiveros and the committee for inviting me as a resource person in this hearing. It's very good to be here with like-minded colleagues. We've been working together on this advocacy for more than a decade. So we in the academe welcome and fully support the proposed SB 2036. It is aligned with the current evidence on the detrimental effects of harsh parenting and the effectiveness of parent support interventions to promote positive forms of parenting and positive child development. Our research work in the last 15 years has focused on parenting behaviors and their effects on child and adolescent outcomes. I have also focused on developing and testing community-based parent support interventions to prevent violence against children as the principal investigator of Parenting for Lifelong Health in the Philippines. Parenting for Lifelong Health is a collaboration between Ateneo, DSWD, the Child Protection Network, Global Parenting Research Partners, and supported by UNICEF Philippines. So the effects of VAC is borne out in our research with Filipino families, which has consistently shown that the experience of harsh parenting and corporal punishment is associated with greater risk of behavior problems in children, such as aggressive and antisocial behaviors, poor school performance, and depression and anxiety. We therefore validate the urgent need to provide Filipino parents with more effective nonviolent strategies and tools to manage their children's challenging behaviors. It is not enough to stop harsh punishment. We need to provide parents with the alternative tools and strategies to raise their children, especially given the normativeness of corporal punishment. Majority of parents do not know that there are more effective ways to address children's challenging behaviors. When we ask parents, majority of them would say that uh, corporal punishment is not necessary in order to raise a child. So in their mind, hindi kailangang paluin ang bata. Pero dahil yun din yung kinagisnan nila, yun lang ang alam nilang gawin. So we really need to teach them alternative strategies and alternative scripts. Help them unlearn, no, all these decades of harsh parenting that they themselves have experienced. So since 2016, we've been testing a culturally acceptable, feasible, and effective parenting support intervention to promote positive parenting. We call this program Masayang Pamilya para sa Batang Pilipino, or MAPA for short. The approach used in our parenting intervention matters. We focus on teaching parents skills, okay? So not just teaching them that harsh parenting is bad, but parents have to practice skills in their groups, no, in their MAPA groups and also at home. They're coached by trained facilitators and supported by other parents in their group, in their community. We nurture parents' feelings of efficacy and validate their roles as the primary caregivers of their children who truly want the best for their children. So they're not demonized, no, or they're not criticized for maybe having had to use harsh parenting in the past, no, but rather we make them feel efficacious, no, that they could learn how to be more effective parents. So parents learn such skills as how to conduct one-on-one time with their child, how to validate and discuss emotions, how to set household rules and routines, how to use praise and positive instructions to increase compliance, how to use redirect and consequences to address challenging child behaviors, how to problem solve as a family, among other skills. So in a randomized controlled trial involving family beneficiaries of the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, we found a 39% reduction in overall child maltreatment 1 month after the MAPA program, compared to families who did not undergo our program. The reduction in child maltreatment was sustained even 1 year after the program. We also found statistical and meaningful increases in positive parenting behaviors, decreases in dysfunctional parenting, decreases in the intensity of child problem behaviors, and decreases in intimate partner violence as well, which just goes to show that violence in the family could be systemic. No? So you address violence between parent and child. You may also be addressing violence between intimate partners. We've also tested MAPA for families with teens and likewise saw a 29 to 49% decrease in child maltreatment, lower levels of teen behavior problems, lower levels of depression and risk-taking after the program. During the pandemic, when we could not conduct face-to-face sessions with parents, we tested a digital chat version of our program, so MAPA Chat, which we facilitated over Viber groups with parents. And we also saw statistically significant reductions in overall maltreatment and emotional abuse in the households that participated, as well as decreases in depressive symptoms among the mothers who participated. We were able to scale the MAPA program within the electronic family development sessions of the 4Ps, allowing 4 million beneficiary families to learn MAPA parenting skills. We could not have done this without the support and collaboration of the National Program Management Bureau of the DSWD. So we are really very grateful for the support and collaboration of DSWD. So I say all this, no, in order to emphasize that it is possible to systematically implement evidence-based interventions to support Filipino families, especially the most vulnerable families, like our Pantawid beneficiaries. We could possibly integrate these programs in existing social welfare systems and programs. So it is possible. So the passage of this policy would support the initiatives of government and non-government actors, all of us here, no, to safeguard and promote the well-being of families and children. We note that this bill also aligns with RA 11908, mandating the implementation of parent effectiveness service programs in every city and municipality in the country. So these bills provide the opportunity and resources to scale effective evidence-based parenting programs in various settings in the community, in schools and workplaces. So we are happy to work with partners, government and non-government, no, to see this policy through. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lian. Um, for the full support, okay, where are my notes? For the full support of the university for this bill, napaka-interesante po nung ginagawa nyo na at the community level, community-based promotion of positive parenting and positive discipline. At ang ganda nung term nyo, yung parenting for lifelong health. Naalala ko po tuloy yung sinabi din ni Dr. Zambrano kaninang umaga tungkol sa naunang bill nung iniuugnay yung maternity benefit for women in the informal economy, yung breastfeeding, sa food security at saka sa reduction ng greenhouse gas emission. So lahat nito mga interventions ay talagang nagko-complement sa iba't ibang positive interventions natin sa iba't ibang aspeto ng buhay. Mahalaga yung sinabi nyo na it's not enough to stop harsh parenting, but we need to provide as parents alternative strategies and scripts. So pinapalitan natin yung narrative. At you described it as a process of helping unlearn yung intergenerational na strategy at scripts natin about how to discipline our children or how we ourselves were disciplined when we were children. Napaka-interesante yung sinalay sa inyo about the MAPA, how you have developed and implemented these off and online as a culturally acceptable intervention since 2016. Masayang Pamilya para sa Batang Pilipino or MAPA. And important then, I think this is part of our messaging to parents about the bill. So we want to teach ourselves to be efficacious. So it's empowering. It's empowering us as parents to positively parent, including positively discipline our children. Salamat sa mga datos na ibinigay ninyo. Important, kumbaga, proofs of concept. Yung 39% reduction in harsh parenting 1 month after, and that reduction sustained or the uptake on positive parenting sustained 1 year after dun sa randomized trial nyo ng mga 4-piece parents, and then even wider, higher range sa parents of teens, teen children of 4-piece parents, 29 to 49%. So halos kalahati na. And then yung salaysay nyo tungkol sa MAPA chat, yung digital chat version. Ang laki na ng scale ng nagawa nyo. Sabi nyo, you scaled this among 4 million 4-piece beneficiaries, parent leaders. So baka pala pag kinikwento namin as proof of concept ng 4-piece naman na ang dami ng umangat sa kahirapan, ang dami ng anak ng 4-piece na nagtapos sa high school bilang valedictorian, salutatorian, ngayon mga scholars sa mga SUCs. Dapat pala ikwento din namin na millions of 4-piece parents have participated in these positive parenting programs like MAPA Chat. Nakakatuwa rin po yung appreciation na pinahayag nyo sa suporta partnership ng DSWD at salamat sa affirmation na the bill aligns with RA 11908 as well. So maraming salamat po muli, Dr. Lian. And then last but not the least, for our CSOs and academe, isa pong positive parent advocate, si Sir Edgar, Mr. Edgar Brinas.
And good day, dear Madam Senator, and thank you very
Hello,
much
sir.
for inviting us over. And as a parent and as an advocate, we support and celebrate the bill on positive parenting of children, along with the many positive discipline and everyday teaching facilitators we have all over the country. So we are now celebrating this bill that we have right now. I firmly believe that there should be no justification for violence, especially in dealing with children. And although corporal punishment has been part of cultures and generations, normalizing further the practice does not respect human dignity nor promote holistic development among our children. Modeling violence among children will only continue the cycle of violence. And we do hope that we get to see parents get trained or educated on how to do positive parenting among their children. Let me just share quickly, as a practitioner, I have seen how positive discipline and parenting affected my child. She is very confident in situations and challenges, and not easily frustrated, agitated, nor resort to aggression or violence in challenging circumstances. And above all, she communicates well with us, even in terms of her emotions. Communication being the best vehicle in fostering values, understanding emotions, and providing structure or information children needed to regulate and discipline themselves are among the many things I realize in the practice of positive parenting. Instead of conditioning them or forcing them to comply out of fear or pain, with positive discipline, I get to see children behaving better because they understand why they must do the right things. Uh, Also, I enjoy the effects of positive discipline with my child by having less effort in dealing with their challenging behavior, especially now that she is a teenager. But I guess it doesn't guarantee that I and my child will not have conflicts. But because we communicate more, I don't get to get flared up or scold her or even get frustrated with my child. We work things out. I get to hear why she is behaving in a way. I get to understand her emotions, and I get to process it with her as well. Understanding how children feel and where they are coming from makes us aware of what they need and what the root cause of the problem is. And as parent, we get to guide them from the consequences of their actions to the values that they want them to practice, and why all of these things are important and how this will affect them in their lives. We get to collaborate and come up with solutions. I just need to guide my child, and most of the time she gets to arrive with or offer sound solutions for in our situations. Positive discipline is about making you and your child commit to agreements, having clear expectations and goals. It is always done with warmth and structure, which discipline should be, and it's always mutually respectful. Uh, One time I get to compliment my child for being so nice in dealing with others. She told me, I don't like the feeling of people being rude. It is not nice, and that's why I don't do it. Empathy is also an outcome of positive parenting and positive discipline. And I'm glad to see that with my child. All this did not happen overnight though, and or with just one sitting. It takes consistency in practice. And in the context of love does not hurt, this is why we parents need to commit to the practice of positive parenting. And if we are longing for long-term solutions, then we should do it consistently. And I hope that every parent get to experience this kind of effect with our children. I was lucky to have parents that never hit me, but in schools, I became a product of corporal punishment. That is why I see the difference between positive discipline and corporal punishment. There were times that I wish that adults could have treated me better in certain situations. But most people believe that compliance out of fear or pain teaches children very well. In fact, it does not, or if it does, it's just short term. Life's lesson taught with love, care, and guidance works better than and lasts longer in creating better people, family, and society. I believe this bill will foster more responsible parenthood among our citizenry, and if not, reduce or end the cycle of violence in society. I have heard many statements before in our trainings na ako nabubugbog din na magulang ko pero naging maayos naman akong tao. Ang lagi naming sagot sa mga ganyan, mas higit pa sana yung kung sino kayo ngayon kung hindi kayo nakaranas ng mga karahasan. Lastly, let us not normalize violence in disciplining children just because it's easier to do. Let us do what is right because we owe it to our children and our country. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat din po sa inyo, Sir Edgar. And as your fellow parent, amen. Thank you po. So now, last call po sa TESDA. Sana, Miss Beverly Bayonisto, online na po ba kayo, ma'am?
Madam Chair?
Yes, kayo na ba yan?
Madam Chair,
Miss
this may
Mylene, o nga pala, Miss Mylene, dahil masakit ang lalamunan ni Miss Beverly. Okay, great to hear
Apologies,
you,
ma'am,
ma'am.
for the delay.
It's
Actually,
okay.
I'm here to observe po and take notes because my higher up was not able to attend. But upon the discussion po with our legal division, we will submit our position paper as soon as we have gathered responses from the different concerned offices po.
Okay, thank you so much. Apo,
Thank
maraming
you.
salamat, Miss Mylene. Abangan po namin yung position paper ng authority. Okay. Thank you. All right. Sige. And alright, so maraming salamat muli sa lahat ng mga resource person who are here in person at saka online. Magko-convene po tayo ng technical working group para trabahuin din itong pangalawang panukalang batas natin. So maraming salamat po. Ingat and see you soon. Okay, this hearing is adjourned.